Chapter 1590. The dragons landed on the vast square in front of the dragon palace. This square could be described as vast. It was really too big. Tang Zheng had never seen such a big square. There were many dragons walking on the square. Some were dragons, some were humans, and all of them were exuding dragon might. Tang Zheng stood on the plaza and couldn't help but look around. The other dragon claness also looked at him, and when they saw the dragon horn on his head, they all revealed expressions of shock. They stopped in their tracks and stared at him without blinking. There were already sounds of discussion in the dragon clan, and they were pointing at each other. Tang Zheng didn't seem to see it. His gaze swept past the dragons and looked toward the dragon palace. Standing on the ground, he could feel the majestic aura of the dragon palace. It made people involuntarily have the urge to kowtow. The gate of the dragon palace was very large. On both sides stood dragon guards with weapons in their hands. They were awe-inspiring and directly blocked their path. Some dragons came forward to negotiate. Only then were they let go. When Tang Zheng walked through the gate, he could clearly feel the vigilance and curiosity in the eyes of the dragon guards. When the other dragons saw that Tang Zheng was actually indifferent, as if he had come to an ordinary place, they were all surprised and clicked their tongues in wonder. Immediately, they were also filled with a strong curiosity about Tang Zheng's background. Passing through layers upon layers of magnificent palaces, Tang Zheng enjoyed the feeling of being the center of attention along the way. Finally, they arrived at the core of the dragon palace. The dragon palace. The dragon head that roared at the sky stood at the top of the dragon palace, making the dragon palace even more majestic and inviolable. The guards of the dragon palace were very strict, but it seemed that they had already received information that they would come, so they were not stopped at all. Under the eyes of the two groups of majestic dragon guards, Tang Zheng and the golden dragon walked into the dragon palace, while most of the other dragon clan-s were blocked outside the dragon palace. Only the dragon clan-s that first discovered Tang Zheng were allowed to enter together. After stepping into the dragon palace, Tang Zheng could clearly feel that the aura around him had undergone an earth-shattering change. The terrifying dragon might was everywhere, converging from all directions, giving him a huge pressure that fiercely enveloped his body. He took a deep breath and circulated the dragon god art, dispelling the dragon might. This way, he wouldn't show any fear in front of others or act strangely. The dragon palace hall was the core of the dragon domain's power. The high dome was richly ornamented and painted. It was extremely beautiful and magnificent. Moreover, it was mainly golden in color. It was a dazzling sight. Tang Zheng's attention was first attracted by the 8 dragons on both sides. They were all in human form and sat on exquisite thrones. They were high and mighty, as if they were looking down on all living things. When Tang Zheng walked in, 8 pairs of eyes shot over in unison and focused on him. Their sharp gazes seemed to be able to pierce through his body and mind, completely seeing through him. Tang Zheng's heart trembled. He guessed that they must be the 8 dragon envoys that the golden dragon had mentioned earlier. No wonder they could become dragon envoys. Just their auras alone were enough to suppress the other dragons, giving people a feeling that they couldn't be ignored. Furthermore, when the 8 of them pressed down together, their terrifying dragon might could make the other dragons not dare to have the slightest thought of resisting. Facing all this, the golden dragon had already lowered his head, not daring to face the 8 dragon envoys. Only Tang Zheng was not afraid in the slightest. He openly met their gazes, looked at them, and also carefully sized them up. The dragon envoys all revealed expressions of shock. He actually dared to be so bold. This was a complete provocation. How dare you? Where did you come from? Why aren't you kneeling down when you see the dragon envoys? A dragon envoy roared and berated with a stern expression. Tang Zheng frowned slightly. The dragons were really used to being high and mighty. Even in front of their own kind, they seemed to like to play with their own status. Tang Zheng and the golden dragon stood still. The golden dragon had only been to the dragon palace once before. He deeply felt the majesty of the dragon palace and didn't dare to act rashly. Last time, all the dragon envoys and the dragon king denied his words, thinking that it was a fantasy. He was very hurt and couldn't help but worry about Tang Zheng. However, seeing how calm Tang Zheng was, he swallowed all his words back into his stomach. Do dragons like to kneel? You actually have to kneel when you see your own kind. This etiquette is really thoughtful. Tang Zheng curled the corner of his mouth and said mockingly, without a hint of sarcasm, "Hiss." Looking at this person, many dragons gasped. He actually dared to talk back to the dragon envoys, and all 8 of them at that. This was really audacious. The 8 dragon envoys were stunned for a moment. Almost at the same time, they were furious and berated. How dare you speak so rudely in the dragon palace? You have no manners at all. Whose descendant are you? This is none of your business. I'm here to look for the Dragon King. I have something important to discuss with him. I don't want to waste time on other things. So, quickly ask the Dragon King to come out. Don't keep us in suspense. Tang Zheng was worried that the Dragon Slayer would arrive at Langya Pavilion at any time. Time waits for no man, so he said it directly. However, his words were like a bolt from the blue. Everyone looked at him in disbelief. He actually wanted to see the Dragon King. Did he really think that anyone could meet the Dragon King? Lord Dragon Envoy, Master really has something important to discuss with the Dragon King. Please make an exception. The Golden Dragon saw that the atmosphere wasn't harmonious and was afraid that something unexpected would happen, so he quickly explained. You don't have the right to speak here. I'll settle this with you later. The Dragon Envoy didn't even look at the Golden Dragon and said disdainfully. It was as if they didn't care about the Dragon Clan at all. The Dragon Clan had always been high and mighty, but within the Dragon Clan, there was a strict hierarchy. The other Dragon Clans would never dare to do what Tang Zheng and the Golden Dragon did. Tang Zheng's frown deepened. He looked deeply at the 8 Dragon Envoys and couldn't help but sigh. The Dragon Clan's decline wasn't unrelated to him. At least, this kind of high and mighty attitude wasn't likable. Our mouths are on our bodies. How can we not have the right to speak? I really didn't expect that the Dragon Clan would become like this. They only know how to be arrogant. Actually, if you were really powerful, you could have gone to find the Dragon Slayer for revenge instead of coldly looking at your own fellow countrymen. How could Tang Zheng endure this kind of vexation? So he directly pushed back. These words angered the 8 Dragon Envoys even more. Some of the Dragon Envoys stood up as if they wanted to teach Tang Zheng a lesson. Tang Zheng wasn't afraid at all. He stood there proudly and looked directly at the Dragon Envoy. His stare made the Dragon Envoy feel guilty. I heard that you also have dragon horns. Is that true? The 2 sides were in a deadlock for a while before a Dragon Slayer broke the silence again. Obviously, this was one of their main concerns. As Dragon Envoys, they were the most mysterious existences in the Dragon Clan. They also had dragon horns, but the length was different. However, they were all very clear about the mysteriousness and power of dragon horns, so naturally, they were the first to ask this question. Of course I have dragon horns. I heard that you all have them too. Tang Zheng didn't back down and said lightly. How did you get your dragon horns? A Dragon Envoy asked curiously. They grew naturally when I was cultivating the Dragon God arts. Tang Zheng said honestly. He had already grown dragon horns before fusing with the Dragon God fragment. They grew naturally when you were cultivating the Dragon God arts? The Dragon Envoys were all shocked. They looked at each other and Tang Zheng in disbelief. What's wrong with that? Tang Zheng indifferently asked in return. Of course not. The Dragon Envoy was resolute and said angrily, please understand the situation before you brag. Otherwise, your bragging is going to reach the heavens. The Dragon God Arts is a powerful ability, but it definitely won't let dragon horns grow. Chapter 1591. The other dragons also looked at Tang Zheng with ridicule. It wasn't like no one had cultivated the Dragon God Arts before. It was just that all dragons had cultivated the Dragon God Arts before. This was the foundation of all dragons' divine abilities. Yet no one else had grown dragon horns. This was truly a fantasy. The Golden Dragon knew that Tang Zheng's talent was special. He had the 9 Yang Saint body and was a celestial. Perhaps this had something to do with his talent. As for what Tang Zheng said, there was not a single lie. He had indeed cultivated the Dragon God art, and then naturally grew dragon horns. Thus he stepped forward and loudly said, I can testify. The other dragons all looked at him. The Dragon Envoy glanced at him with disdain and didn't place him in his eyes at all. He lightly said, your words are not trustworthy. You. The Golden Dragon wanted to retort, but facing the Dragon Envoy, his fear of heaven and earth made him stop. Tang Zheng took a step forward and closed the distance between him and the Dragon Envoy. He helped the Golden Dragon out of his predicament and said, I came to the dragon domain for the sake of the dragon clan's survival, not to waste my saliva with you. I never thought that the dragon race would fall to this level and only know how to argue amongst themselves. Could it be that when facing a dragon slayer, you think you can use your mouth to retreat? This retort could be said to be sharp and pointed at the most painful part of the dragon race's heart. The 8 dragon envoys all stood up and angrily said, "How dare you? I think you've been wandering outside for too long and have completely forgotten the rules of the dragon race. Then we'll teach you the rules." A dragon envoy strode down the stairs. They didn't order the other dragons to attack. After all, Tang Zheng had dragon horns and the dragon envoy knew how powerful they were. If the other dragons attacked, they might not win. The dragon envoy directly attacked to intimidate the other side and let him understand the dragon envoy's strength. It wasn't something the other dragons could contend against. "Master!" The golden dragon saw this and became anxious. He tried to step forward, but was blocked by Tang Zheng. "Don't worry, I'll do it." Tang Zheng gave the golden dragon a comforting look and walked over to the dragon envoy. When the two sides were only a few meters apart, the dragon envoy attacked first. Shwa! The sharp and domineering golden light appeared out of nowhere and surrounded Tang Zheng in an instant. It was as if the golden light had been there all along and Tang Zheng had walked right into it. Tang Zheng was unmoved. He continued to walk toward the dragon envoy. Whoosh! Whoosh! In such a short distance, the power of the golden light was extremely shocking. Many dragons gasped because it had been too long since they had seen the dragon envoy make a move. "I'm so lucky to have this opportunity today." Of course, they couldn't help but rejoice in his misfortune, thinking that this unknown dragon was going to suffer a great loss. After this lesson, he would understand what the rules of the dragon race were. Offending one's superiors was not a light crime. Tang Zheng's footsteps did not stop. He saw the golden light coming at him, but it seemed to be a step too slow. It actually did not catch up with him. The golden light missed and hit the void behind him. It exploded with a loud bang. Chi waves rolled, but it did not affect Tang Zheng in the slightest. At that moment, pairs of eyes seemed to be about to pop out of their sockets. Their jaws almost fell to the ground. What the hell, what was going on? How could this be? The dragon envoy was also shocked. He immediately regained his composure and prepared to launch the first round of attacks. However, just as the golden light flashed, Tang Zheng had already walked in front of him and grabbed him. Whoosh! The dragon envoy moved directly toward Tang Zheng. His feet drew a long trail on the ground. It was obvious that the dragon envoy was trying his best to resist, but he could not stop Tang Zheng. Bang! In the blink of an eye, the dragon envoy crashed into Tang Zheng's palm and was completely under his control. This scene shocked all the dragons. Cries of surprise rang out everywhere. Even the other dragon envoys could not remain calm. It had come too quickly and ended too quickly. Before anyone could react, the dust had settled. The dragon envoy had lost. It was a complete and clean defeat. Stop! The other dragon envoys felt the same way and shouted. Tang Zheng raised his eyes and looked at the 7 dragon envoys on the throne. He said mockingly, "Now you know to stop? Where did your aura go? Where did you come from, Dragon Clan?" The dragon envoy shouted. Tang Zheng snorted and did not comment. His gaze fell on the dragon envoy in his hand. The dragon envoy kept struggling. It was obvious that he did not want to admit defeat. His eyes bulged like copper bells as he glared fiercely at Tang Zheng. "You're finished. Offending your superiors is a serious crime in the Dragon Clan. No matter where you come from, you can forget about leaving the Dragon Palace." The dragon envoy threatened sternly. Tang Zheng did not care. He said, "You've already fallen into my hands and you still dare to be so arrogant. You're really arrogant. Since that's the case, let's see how long you can be arrogant for." Tang Zheng's fingers tightened. Crack, crack, crack. The dragon envoy's joints immediately cracked. His bones seemed to be on the verge of breaking. It was clear how terrifying the strength in his hand was. "Stop, stop quickly!" The dragon envoy shouted, but Tang Zheng turned a deaf ear. The other Dragon Clan members trembled in fear. Their hearts trembled. This Dragon Clan member was truly audacious. The Golden Dragon had witnessed all the ups and downs that Tang Zheng had gone through, but he understood his style of doing things very well. The dragon envoy had been high and mighty from the very beginning and did not put him in his eyes, which was why he retaliated so sharply. If the dragon envoy had been kind from the start, perhaps things would not have developed to this point. Although he was also a dragon clan member, he stood firmly on Tang Zheng's side. He was fully alert, afraid that he would be flustered if they fought. Tang Zheng had no intention of stopping. In an instant, the dragon envoy did not even have the strength to shout for him to stop. He could only gasp for breath as if he had really reached his limit. Finally, he begged for mercy in a low voice. "Don't use too much strength, please let me go." The high and mighty dragon envoy was actually begging for mercy. This made the other dragon clan members' jaws drop. The other 7 dragon envoys felt as if they had been slapped in the face. They were burning with shame. "Shut up!" The other dragon envoys shouted loudly, stopping their companion from begging for mercy. "Don't even think about leaving the dragon palace today." The 7 dragon envoys were bristling with righteous indignation as they surrounded him. "Don't touch my master." The golden dragon did not hesitate. He stepped forward and stood beside Tang Zheng. His whole body glowed with golden light as his dragon might erupted. He looked at the dragon envoy, ready to attack. Tang Zheng glanced at the golden dragon from the corner of his eye and smiled knowingly. The golden dragon looked at this smile and felt warmth in his heart. His expression became even more determined. This smile seemed to have given him great courage and confidence. His originally anxious heart also calmed down. He met the gazes of the dragon envoys. "Impudent, you're really lawless," the dragon envoy roared. The 7 dragon envoys flashed and surrounded Tang Zheng and the golden dragon. Chapter 1592. The 7 dragon envoys surrounded Tang Zheng and the golden dragon. The other dragons all retreated to give them space, afraid that they would be implicated. Sister-in-law Sokolal said, "Look at the most beautiful woman." However, Tang Zheng was extremely calm, the corner of his mouth hooked up into a smile and said, "Are we really going to fight? Before I came here, I had thought of countless scenarios, but this was the only one I didn't think of. The dragon clan is really not the same as before. After the dragon god fell, the dragon clan actually became like this, sigh." A long sigh, filled with indescribable complicated emotions. Tang Zheng's emotions were indeed very complicated. In fact, he could completely stay out of this matter and ignore the life and death of the dragon clan, as well as other matters like life and death. In any case, from the few interactions he had with the dragon slayers could not sense him like the other dragons. As long as he was fully prepared, it would be difficult for the dragon slayers to find him, which meant that he was much less dangerous than the other dragons. If not for the promise he made to the dragon clan seniors, and because he had obtained many inheritances from the dragon clan, he would not meddle in other people's business. Especially when these dragon envoys had such an attitude, it was too disappointing. When the dragon envoys heard the 2 words dragon god, they did not have any reaction and were already prepared to attack. "Stop." Suddenly, a dignified voice sounded. With a flash of golden light, a figure appeared on the throne in the middle of the high platform. He had a long beard, thick eyebrows, and big eyes. He looked very dignified. Most importantly, there were 2 horns on both sides of his forehead. Dragon horns. After he transformed into a human, there were dragon horns, and those dragon horns were even longer and bigger than Tang Zheng's. His identity was obvious, the Dragon King. When the Dragon King appeared, the other dragons all bowed and called out respectfully, "Dragon King!" Even the golden dragon bowed slightly. It was obvious how powerful the Dragon King's dignity was. In the Dragon Palace, only 2 people did not bow. One was the dragon envoy who had lost his freedom and could not bow even if he wanted to. The other was Tang Zheng, who raised his head and looked at the Dragon King casually. He stared straight at the 2 dragon horns, his heart thumping as he thought to himself, "Amazing! No wonder he could become the Dragon King." Just these 2 dragon horns alone were enough to prove his cultivation and strength. The Dragon King looked at Tang Zheng's arrogant attitude and frowned slightly, but he didn't probe further. Instead, he asked in a deep voice, "Did you just mention the dragon god?" The other dragons looked up in confusion and glanced at the Dragon King. They did not know what he meant. Dragon god? What was that? Why haven't I heard of it before? The Dragon Clan had only heard of the Dragon King, but had never heard of the Dragon God. Even the dragon envoys looked suspicious. They looked at each other and gently shook their heads, seeing the confusion in each other's eyes. Tang Zhang saw their reaction and combined it with the golden dragon's previous words. He suddenly realized that the dragon god was related to the traitor of the dragon race, which was the core secret of the dragon race. Therefore, no one in the dragon clan knew about this except for the dragon king. Even the high and mighty dragon envoy was kept in the dark about this. The dragon clan is really unscrupulous for their so-called honor. For so many years, they have completely kept the dragon clan in the dark. Tang Zhang sighed and looked directly at the dragon king. He said indifferently, "Yes, I mentioned the dragon god." After that, he looked at the dragon king meaningfully. The dragon king was very smart. He saw the hidden meaning in Tang Zhang's eyes and ordered the other dragons, "Stand down." The other dragons looked at the dragon king in surprise, but no one dared to disobey the dragon king's order. Even the dragon envoy had to step aside obediently. Tang Zhang also let go of his hand. The dragon envoy was freed and wanted to retaliate. However, after looking at the dragon king, he had no choice but to swallow his anger and step aside unwillingly. Tang Zhang looked at the dragon king and asked jokingly, "Do you want to fight too?" "How dare you speak to the dragon king in such a tone?" The dragon envoy could not stand it anymore and scolded loudly with a dark face. The dragon king waved his hand, indicating for the dragon envoy not to make a fuss. He walked towards Tang Zhang step by step and said in a low voice, "How did you know?" Tang Zhang smiled and said, "This is indeed a secret to the dragon clan. However, there is no such thing as an absolute secret in this world." Seeing that Tang Zhang wanted to continue, the dragon king's expression turned cold. He waved his hand and ordered the other dragons, "All of you stand down." Dragon King. The dragon envoy looked at the dragon king worriedly and did not move. The dragon king looked around sternly and asked, "Do you want me to say it again?" No one dared to ask the dragon king to say it again. Although they had many questions, they still walked out obediently. However, they kept glancing at Tang Zhang as if warning him not to act rashly in front of the dragon king. "You also go out," the dragon king said when he saw that the golden dragon did not move. The golden dragon's heart trembled. Just as he was about to leave, he was stopped by Tang Zhang. He said lightly, "He knows everything that I know. There is nothing to hide from him. He must stay." Tang Zhang was afraid that the dragon envoy would take revenge on the golden dragon after he left. After all, the golden dragon was not their match. The golden dragon looked at Tang Zhang gratefully and stopped in his tracks. The dragon king frowned and looked at the golden dragon deeply. This was a scrutinizing gaze, very cautious. After a moment, the dragon king turned his head, obviously agreeing to let the golden dragon stay. "You can talk about the dragon god now. How do you know about the dragon god? Who told you?" The dragon king said in a deep voice. "It seems that my guess was right. In the entire dragon clan, I'm afraid that you are the only one who knows about the dragon god." Tang Zhang did not answer in a hurry. Instead, he said meaningfully, "This is the core secret of the dragon clan. Of course, only I, the dragon king, know about it. Therefore, I am very curious. Who told you this?" "The dragon slayer told me," Tang Zhang said lightly, but these words were like a bolt from the blue, causing the dragon king's expression to change greatly. He cried out in surprise, "Dragon slayer? How is that possible?" "Why is that impossible?" Tang Zhang asked back. The dragon king looked at Tang Zhang in disbelief and said, "You saw the dragon slayer, so how can you still stand in front of me alive?" In the past, as long as the dragon clan was targeted by the dragon slayer, there was basically no chance of survival. That was why the dragon king was so surprised. Moreover, there were not many dragon slayers who knew about the dragon god. Those were the upper echelons of the dragon slayer, and their fighting strength was very strong. If Tang Zhang wanted to know about the dragon god, he could only hear it from them. Then, he should not be standing here unscathed. In fact, it was precisely because of this that the relationship between the dragon god and the dragon slayer had been kept a secret. Even if the dragon slayer had mentioned this to the dragon clan could not escape from the dragon slayer's evil hands. Naturally, this secret was kept. Seeing the dragon king making such a fuss, Tang Zhang directly said, "I do admit that the dragon slayer is powerful, but it's definitely not as terrifying as you say. Otherwise, how could I kill so many dragon slayer?" You killed a lot of Dragon Slayer? The Dragon King shouted again. When the Dragon Clan outside heard the shout, they all wanted to rush in, but they did not dare to take half a step forward. The atmosphere in the Dragon Palace became strange. The way the Dragon King looked at Tang Zheng changed again and again. It was not that he had never killed a Dragon Slayer before. The other Dragon Clan had also killed a Dragon Slayer before, but that was many years ago. All these years, the Dragon Clan's headquarters had been hiding in the Dragon Domain, and no longer had a direct confrontation with the Dragon Slayer. Only a few lone Dragon Clan fought with the Dragon Slayer, but without exception, these Dragon Clan all died. But Tang Zheng had actually killed many Dragon Slayer. Chapter 1593. Wah! Dragon King looked at Tang Zheng's calm and composed manner and started to hesitate again. He didn't seem to be bragging. Combined with what he said, it seemed that he was most likely telling the truth. But how was that possible? Even with Dragon King's rich imagination, it was extremely difficult for him to imagine what was going on. Tang Zheng looked at Dragon King indifferently and ignored his reaction. He was the king of a race. Why was he so afraid of the enemy? Did he have no confidence in his own race at all? It was as if he was scared out of his wits by the Dragon Slayer. Both parties fell into silence and the atmosphere became strange. After a long while, Dragon King spoke again and asked, "Although you have dragon horns, it is not easy to kill the Dragon Slayer. How did you kill them? Where did you kill them?" Obviously, Dragon King wanted to know more details. Tang Zheng smiled faintly and said casually, "It took a lot of effort to kill the first one, but it was much easier to kill the rest in Langya Pavilion." Langya Pavilion. The Dragon King was shocked, and his eyes widened. "You're lying. How can a Dragon Slayer reach the Langya Pavilion? That is a place that only the dragon race can reach. It is impossible for other races to reach." Dragon King became agitated. He thought to himself that he was almost fooled by this kid. He didn't expect him to give himself away so much. Any dragon who heard this would be able to expose his lies without any effort. Dragon King immediately raised his head high and looked down at Tang Zheng with disdain. Tang Zheng raised his head and looked at Dragon King mockingly. He didn't know where his confidence came from. He was the Dragon King. This was no longer pride and nobility, but arrogance and conceit. "You have never seen it before, so it is impossible?" Arbitrary. Tang Zheng's simple retort made Dragon King's expression rich. His gaze darkened and became sharp and dignified. He said, "You have no proof. How can you prove it?" "I have no way to prove it. Perhaps you will know the next time the Dragon Slayer arrives at Langya Pavilion." Tang Zheng paused for a moment, then shook his head and said, "No, even if the next Dragon Slayer comes to Langya Pavilion, you won't know. Because you can't sense them at all, so naturally, you can't see them." The Langya Pavilion was a very special place. Every member of the Dragon Clan could enter it without interfering with each other. In other words, even if every Dragon Clan member entered Langya Pavilion at the same time, they would not be able to see each other. The Langya Pavilion had a special function that could isolate the dragons within, allowing them to do as they pleased without being disturbed. Therefore, if Tang Zheng hadn't obtained the mysterious inheritance of the Dragon Clan Senior, he wouldn't have been able to sense those dragon slayers and naturally wouldn't have been able to see them. Tang Zheng's words greatly provoked the Dragon King, causing his expression to fluctuate. He snorted angrily and said, "The Langya Pavilion isolates every dragon clan. Even if the dragon slayers enter, they will be isolated from the other dragon clans. How can you see them? Therefore, humph, a bunch of lies." Tang Zheng shook his head and sighed. "Do you think I saw what you saw? Ridiculous. The Langya Pavilion can isolate the other dragons, but not me. Do you understand?" The Dragon King's thick eyebrows twitched. He was skeptical. "Then how did you do it?" Tang Zheng wasn't in a hurry to answer. He said, "I wonder if you've explored the place shrouded in fog outside the Langya Pavilion?" The Dragon Clan has an ancestral rule. The descendants of the Dragon Clan must never set foot in that area. The Dragon King said righteously. Suddenly, he realized something and stared sharply at Tang Zheng. He asked in bewilderment, "Did you go to that area?" Tang Zheng knew that he couldn't hide it anymore, so he simply admitted it openly. "Yes." The Dragon King's aura soared. He roared furiously, "How dare you do that? You're going against the Dragon Clan's ancestral rule. You're a sinner of the Dragon Clan." The Dragon King's reprimand was so heavy that the Golden Dragon's heart was in suspense. He looked at him worriedly and wanted to refute him. Tang Zheng, on the other hand, was calm. He raised his eyelids and said, "You want to punish me with this? Haha, it's not certain who's the sinner of the Dragon Clan. Don't you want to know what's in that area?" The Dragon King's heart trembled. He blurted out, "What's there?" After saying that, he realized that he had been led by the nose by Tang Zheng. He couldn't help but feel embarrassed. He was secretly angry, but he had to suppress his anger. The other Langya Pavilion is upside down. There are countless dead Dragon Clan members and their dragon souls buried in it. Tang Zheng said concisely. Dragon souls. The Dragon King turned pale with fright. His expression was unprecedentedly rich. At the same time, many thoughts that had been in his mind for a long time surged out like a tide. As the Dragon King, he naturally knew more about the inside stories and secrets of the Dragon Clan than the other Dragon Clan members. One of them was the inside story of the Dragon Tomb. The Dragon Tomb had been destroyed by the Dragon Slayers, and many dragon souls had fallen into the hands of the Dragon Slayers. Most of the dragon race thought so, but the Dragon King knew one thing. This was what the previous Dragon King had unintentionally said, and that was that the Dragon Tomb might not have been completely destroyed by the Dragon Slayers. The Dragon Slayers had only destroyed a small part of the Dragon Tomb. This was a huge doubt, but there was no evidence to support it. Therefore, the Dragon King only suspected it. Now that Tang Zheng mentioned this, he immediately remembered. His mood became complicated. He hoped that what Tang Zheng said was true, but he also hoped that it wasn't. After all, if what he said was true, then it was very likely that he killed the Dragon Slayer. Then, his battle record would be well known even among the Dragon Clan. The Dragon King didn't want to see this. Tang Zheng ignored the Dragon King's complicated feelings. He nodded lightly and continued, "Not only are there dragon souls, but there are also fragments of the Dragon God. They are the fragments of the Dragon God's dragon soul after the Dragon God died." This was like a heavy bomb, ruthlessly destroying the last trace of fluke in the Dragon King's heart. If Tang Zheng said that there was a dragon soul, it might be possible that he was lying. However, there was no way he could lie when he said that there was a fragment of the Dragon God. This was because in the entire clan, only the Dragon King knew the secret of the dragon soul. The other dragons didn't know about the existence of the Dragon God. Therefore, it was impossible for Tang Zheng to make up a lie. Only when he had truly experienced it would he know the core secret of this matter. The expression on the Dragon King's face could no longer be described with simple words. Even the most complicated color palette in the world was not as complicated as his expression. The Dragon King looked at Tang Zheng again. The more he looked, the more he couldn't see through him. Tang Zheng met the Dragon King's gaze. He had already seen some clues. The Dragon King's last bit of doubt was crushed. He couldn't doubt anymore. Thus, he simply stopped talking, folded his arms, and looked at the Dragon King calmly. To read a novel, please visit Chapter 1594. The Dragon King's thoughts changed and his expression changed. In the end, his gaze was fixed on Tang Zheng. Especially when he looked at his calm and composed appearance. He was furious. Read the new domain name, initials, previously registered accounts can still be used. However, he was the Dragon King after all and his ability to maintain his composure was top-notch. He said, "Then tell me in detail what you saw inside." In fact, he wanted to enter Langya Pavilion himself to investigate, but before that, it was more appropriate to listen to what Tang Zheng had to say. Tang Zheng wanted to tell him anyway, and he could not hide it from him. Back then, the Dragon Seniors had warned him not to tell others about the inverted Langya Pavilion, and only he knew about it. This way, the Dragon Soul's safety would be guaranteed. However, now that the Dragon Slayers could enter Langya Pavilion, the Dragon Soul was no longer safe. He could not rely on his own strength to fight against the Dragon Slayers, so he had to tell the Dragon King this secret. Of course, the Dragon King would definitely not make it public. At least for a short period of time, the Dragon Soul's secret would still be kept. Therefore, Tang Zheng started from the beginning and told him tirelessly. He even told him the original words that the Dragon Seniors reprimanded the dragon race. The Dragon King's old face turned red. He had just reprimanded Tang Zheng as a sinner of the dragon race, but the Dragon Seniors reprimanded the dragon race for being useless. They actually followed the rules for so many years and did not dare to explore that area at all. Of course, this was partly due to the Dragon King. He usually ordered the dragon race to follow the ancestral teachings. This was why the dragon race did not dare to take the risk. When he heard that the dragon seniors taught Tang Zheng the remarkable ability, the Dragon King's eyes lit up. He could not help but feel envious. This was not an ordinary inheritance of the dragon race. It was only taught to Tang Zheng alone. The remarkable ability of the dragon seniors is the wealth of the dragon race. It should be shared by the dragon race. This way, we will have more capital when fighting against the dragon slayers. We can avoid the situation like before where we can only be sensed by the dragon slayers and not be able to sense the dragon slayers, as if they were blind. The Dragon King said righteously. Tang Zheng looked at him deeply, and a meaningful smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. He said indifferently, "This is indeed the wealth of the dragon race, so I will teach it to every dragon." He did not say that he would only teach the Dragon King the sensing method. If the Dragon King kept it to himself, it would go against his original intention. Therefore, he decided to impart it to every member of the dragon tribe. After all, this was indeed the wealth of the dragon tribe, and every member of the dragon tribe had the right to obtain it. In addition, with his previous experience, his image in the dragon clan was not good. If he had this mystical power, perhaps he could eliminate the ill feelings in many people's hearts. After all, he was also a member of the dragon clan. It was impossible for him to break off relations with the dragon clan. How could he let go of the opportunity to build a good relationship with them? Hearing his decision, the Dragon King looked at him deeply and did not raise any objections. Tang Zheng continued his story. What happened next was even more exciting and thrilling. He emphasized the first and second time he encountered the Dragon Slayer in Langya Pavilion. When he heard that Tang Zheng repeatedly eliminated the Dragon Slayer, it seemed to be an understatement, but the danger was unimaginable for ordinary people. The Dragon King's heart was also surging. He no longer doubted Tang Zheng's words. All of this could not be made up, especially in front of the Dragon King. If he made up nonsense, the Dragon King would be able to see through it in less than 3 sentences. It turned out that Langya Pavilion was already in danger. As the Dragon King, he was actually unaware. If he did not come to inform him, he was afraid that he would only find out when Langya Pavilion was destroyed by the Dragon Slayer in the future. Suddenly, his feelings towards Tang Zheng became complicated. He could not explain it clearly in a sentence. What did you gain from fusing with the Dragon God fragment? The Dragon King cleverly grasped the key point. The Dragon God fragment was not an ordinary item. It was the Dragon God's Dragon Soul fragment. The Dragon King could not figure out what kind of mysterious effect it had. However, he could conclude that the Dragon God fragment was definitely not simple. Once fused with it, there would definitely be a great gain. Even with his identity as the Dragon King, he could not help but be a little envious of Tang Zheng for having such a fortuitous encounter. Tang Zheng hesitated. Of course he gained something, and that was the advanced version of the Dragon God technique. However, should he make it public? The Golden Dragon also looked at Tang Zheng with a complicated gaze. He knew that he was in a dilemma, but he did not say anything. Everything was up to Tang Zheng to decide. He supported him unconditionally. Tang Zheng slowly raised his head and met the Dragon King's eyes. The Dragon King's heart was also in suspense. He was very sure that after fusing with the Dragon God fragment, he would definitely gain something. He could not predict whether Tang Zheng would tell the truth or not. Of course, he hoped that Tang Zheng would tell the truth. However, it was not up to him to decide. Yes. Tang Zheng simply spat out a word. The Dragon King's eyes immediately lit up, sparkling like 2 bright stars. He stared at Tang Zheng in an overbearing manner and asked, "What harvest?" The advanced version of the Dragon God technique. Tang Zheng had already made up his mind. The advanced version of the Dragon God technique could benefit the Dragon Clan. How could he keep it to himself? That was not his style. Dragon God technique. Advanced version? The Dragon King suspiciously repeated. He looked at him in astonishment, not understanding the mystery behind it. The Dragon God technique is the foundation of the Dragon Clan's cultivation. It is also the first cultivation method that the Dragon Clan came into contact with. However, the Dragon God technique that the Dragon Clan cultivates is not perfect. It still has an advanced version, which can make up for the Dragon God technique. The Dragon King's mind was shaken. This was something he had never heard of. He was from the Dragon Clan, but it was an outsider who told him these secrets of the Dragon Clan. He could not help but feel ashamed of his inferiority and indignant. Tang Zheng did not care about the Dragon King's thoughts. He spread out his palm and said, "This is the benefit of cultivating the advanced version of the Dragon God technique." A ball of golden light appeared in his palm. Then, a 9-clawed little golden dragon appeared in his palm. Its pair of small eyes stared at the Dragon King without fear. The Dragon King was stunned. He looked at the 9-clawed little golden dragon in shock. He subconsciously wanted to reach out and touch it, but in the next second, he stopped. That would be too degrading. In fact, he did not even need to touch it. He was sure that this little golden dragon was not an illusion. It was the real thing. He did not understand the mystery behind it. He suddenly raised his head and stared at Tang Zheng. He asked, "What is going on?" The corner of Tang Zheng's mouth rose. He said, "Can't you see?" The Dragon King was startled. He did not know how to answer. He was the Dragon King, but he could not see through Tang Zheng's trick. Wasn't this slapping his own face? The Dragon King's face sank. It was as if dark clouds were pressing down on him. He looked at Tang Zheng gloomily without saying a word. Tang Zheng was not afraid. Although he had revealed the truth, he did not agree with the Dragon King's previous attitude. It was too high and mighty. That was why he deliberately choked. Fortunately, there were not many dragons present. Otherwise, the Dragon King would not have a way out. The golden dragon was secretly happy. This was Tang Zheng's style. He had already experienced it. Back then, Tang Zheng's cultivation level was so low that the golden dragon did not gain much advantage in front of him. Please visit this site to read the latest novel. Readers who want to read this book, please read a UU novel, or Chapter 1595. Can't you tell? A simple sentence poked at the Dragon King's weak spot. He looked at Tang Zheng with a gloomy face and stared at the little 9-clawed golden dragon. In his eyes, this was a young dragon. It looked weak, but its strength was not to be underestimated. He really could not figure it out. Seeing that the Dragon King was unable to answer, Tang Zheng sneered. The Dragon King's eyesight was only so. Back then, the golden dragon was able to see through the mystery because he had been with Tang Zheng all the time and understood Tang Zheng very well. However, the Dragon King knew almost nothing about Tang Zheng. There was too much information that he did not know, so it was naturally not easy to guess. Tang Zheng coughed and deliberately said, "This is the little golden dragon in my dragon seal." "What? The little golden dragon in your dragon seal can materialize and leave your body?" The Dragon King turned pale with fright. This point shocked him once again. He subconsciously probed his dragon seal. A 9-clawed little golden dragon was full of vigor. A dragon had 9 claws. This was the limit. Therefore, the Dragon King also only had 9 claws. However, no matter how the Dragon King looked left and right, he could not make the little golden dragon leave his body. This completely subverted his knowledge and common sense. However, the truth was right in front of his eyes. He could not have the slightest doubt. Tang Zheng looked at the Dragon King without batting an eyelid. Finally, the Dragon King seemed to have recovered from his shock. He suddenly raised his head and stared at Tang Zheng with a complicated look in his eyes. Tang Zheng had already said that this was the benefit of cultivating the advanced version of the Dragon God technique. This miraculous change was naturally the credit of the advanced version of the Dragon God technique. He could not wait to see the advanced version of the Dragon God technique. "Quickly tell me the advanced version of the Dragon God technique," the Dragon King ordered with an unquestionable tone. Tang Zheng was unmoved and said, "This is the commonwealth of the Dragon Clan. It does not belong to one person. Therefore, I will personally announce it to all the Dragon Clan." The Dragon King's pupils constricted as a golden light flashed. He lowered his body and approached Tang Zheng. Their eyes met as he stared at him like a tiger eyeing its prey. He asked, "What are you trying to do?" "I don't want the inheritance of the Dragon God to be reduced to the privilege of a few dragons. This is the commonwealth of all dragons, and all dragons have the right to inherit it," Tang Zheng said indifferently, not fearing the Dragon King's aggressive gaze. He was already very clear that the dragon race was a privileged world with a strict hierarchy. The strong were respected, and many magical powers were reduced to the private privileges of certain dragon race members. He hoped to change this. Of course, he also hoped to use this opportunity to raise his status in the Dragon Clan. Dragon King immediately retorted, "No! The Dragon Clan has its own rules, and it's not something that can be broken by just one person. Rules are dead. They were set by some dragons. Rules can be broken." Tang Zhang did not back down and immediately retorted, "You are making an enemy out of the entire Dragon Clan." The Dragon King said resolutely. The reason why the Dragon King became the Dragon King was not only because he was the strongest, but also because he had many privileges that other dragons did not know about and knew many secrets. Naturally, he did not want anyone to break this. This was a very bad sign. The Dragon King's dignity would be challenged because of this. He definitely could not sit back and do nothing. What an alarmist! Can a single dragon represent the entire Dragon Clan? How could Tang Zhang not know what the Dragon King was thinking, and said jokingly, "I don't know where you came from, but I want to tell you, the world of the Dragon Clan is not as simple as you think." The Dragon King warned. Dragon King, the advanced version of the Dragon God technique will greatly increase the strength of the Dragon Clan. In the future, it will be easier to fight against the Dragon Slayers. Are you really going to keep it to yourself and hide it? Tang Zhang said fiercely. Once these words were said, the Dragon King was also angry. He did not really want to hide the advanced version of the Dragon God technique. After all, this was a good thing that was beneficial to all the Dragon Clan. However, he couldn't just stand by and watch as a foreign dragon announced this matter. What would happen to his prestige if that happened? This kind of thing should be announced by him. Who said I want to keep it to myself? This kind of thing should be done by me, not some guy of unknown origin. The Dragon King said angrily. Haha, what an unknown origin. Tang Zhang snorted. If that's the case, then why do you still want my advanced version of the Dragon God technique? Aren't you afraid that I will purposely make a harmful version? You actually dare to boast so shamelessly. I am precisely worried about this, so I don't want you to announce it to the Dragon Clan. You have to let me take a look first. Let you take a look first? Tang Zhang shook his head and said firmly, "Impossible." Once he told the Dragon King would have the opportunity to announce it to the Dragon Clan on his behalf. He would not have anything to do with it. He wouldn't do such a thing to benefit others. Actually, if the Dragon King had put down his high and mighty attitude and came to talk calmly, he would not have been so insistent. But after seeing the Dragon King's style, he changed his mind. Hearing Tang Zhang's straightforward rejection, the Dragon King became more and more angry. This is the Dragon Domain. It is not up to you. What, do you still want to fight? You are the high and mighty Dragon King. How can you treat your own clansmen like this? Tang Zhang did not expect the Dragon King to turn against him so quickly. You don't know what's good for you. You only have yourself to blame. The Dragon King said coldly. Immediately, the atmosphere became abnormally awkward and hostile. Tang Zhang straightened his body and sighed. I didn't expect the Dragon Clan to become like this. The Dragon God was betrayed back then, and a group of dragon slayers appeared between heaven and earth to exterminate the Dragon Clan. Now, the Dragon Clan does not know how to be united. They are scattered and even want to harm their own clansmen. Perhaps the Dragon God did not think of this back then. I think it won't be long before the Langya Pavilion is destroyed, and the Dragon Clan will be completely destroyed by the Dragon Slayers. Tang Zhang was very emotional. He did not expect that his trip full of hope would end up like this. Facing such a situation, could he take a step back? Yes. But after taking a step back, he had to take a second step back. He did not want to become an unprincipled person. He came to help the Dragon Clan, not to be their enemy. Yet, he was treated like this. He was also indignant. They stared at each other. The atmosphere became very subtle and hostile. The Golden Dragon looked left and right. He hesitated for a moment and said, Dragon King, Master is thinking for the Dragon Clan. He has no selfish motives. You may have misunderstood. The Dragon Slayers may enter the Langya Pavilion again at any time. At that time we will be passive. Shut up. Before he could finish, the Dragon King interrupted him with a shout. Without even looking at him, the Dragon King said with a murderous aura, This is a matter of the Dragon Clan. It should be up to me to decide. Since when is it your turn to criticize? The golden dragon had no choice but to swallow his words. He looked at the Dragon King resentfully, then moved his feet and stood beside Tang Zheng. Obviously, he had made his choice. If they fought, he would stand on Tang Zheng's side. This scene angered the Dragon King even more. His eyes were almost spitting fire. For the latest novel updates, please visit the website. Chapter 1596. Both sides stared at each other, neither taking a step back. Instead, it was as if they were fighting each other. Especially the golden dragon's small action, it provoked the Dragon King's nerves. Net is almost equal to he was high and mighty and hated the betrayal of other dragons the most. He could not tolerate this at all. But the golden dragon's action was undoubtedly a scene he did not want to see the most. The Dragon King slowly raised his hand and pointed at Tang Zheng and the golden dragon. His body glowed brightly as he said, "The dragon god's fragment is the wealth of the dragon clan. How can it fall into your hands? Hand it over." Before he finished speaking, a ray of golden light shot out from the Dragon King's hand. It was incomparably dazzling and imposing. It covered Tang Zheng and the golden dragon from top to bottom, front to back, left to right, covering every corner. Tang Zheng moved his thoughts and recalled the nine-clawed golden dragon into the dragon seal. With a flash of sword light, the hidden mystic sword was already tightly grasped in his hand. Whoosh! The sword light spun and covered every corner, perfectly blocking the Dragon King's attack. The sacred rune's light kept flashing. Ha! Tang Zheng looked at the sacred rune in surprise. There were no longer 3 sacred runes on the hidden mystic sword. Instead, there were only 2 sacred runes left. Back then, when the sword spirit left the Langya Pavilion, Tang Zheng did not pay attention to it. Now that he summoned the hidden mystic sword, he found that it had undergone a shocking change. The 3 sacred runes turned into 2. The simpler the sacred runes, the more powerful the magic treasure. 2 sacred runes were naturally simpler than 3, so its power was naturally greater. With a thought in his mind, he figured out the mystery behind it. The hidden mystic sword must have absorbed the dragon slayer's soul in the Langya Pavilion. Ever since the hidden mystic sword leveled up, it had this effect. It would also benefit from this and increase its grade. This incident was the best proof. The hidden mystic sword's grade had increased again. The beauty of the 2 sacred runes was definitely greater than the 3 sacred runes. It made people want to touch it. Tang Zheng's hand touched the saint pattern. Immediately, the hidden sword seemed to be stimulated. Its light shone even more brightly, even becoming a little violent. It spread in all directions like streaks of lightning. With the hidden sword as the core, it spread in all directions in an instant. Not long after, the huge dragon palace was completely filled with lightning-like sword light. It kept flashing and emitting sword-whistling sounds, as if it was cheering and singing. The 3 of them couldn't help but stare blankly. Even Tang Zheng, the master, was deeply shocked by the hidden sword's reaction. This was completely beyond his expectations. The golden dragon's eyes lit up as it looked at Tang Zheng with even more reverence. As expected of master, he was truly amazing. The Dragon King subconsciously stopped his attack and stared at the hidden sword without blinking. There was envy in his eyes. He opened his mouth and exclaimed, "Is this your magic weapon?" Of course, the Dragon King knew what was good for him. He could tell at a glance that the hidden mystic sword was extraordinary. It was more powerful and of a higher grade than any other magic weapon he had ever seen. He was very shocked. This was actually a magic weapon of his own race. It was even better than his own magic weapon. This was simply unreasonable. When Tang Zheng heard this, he came back to his senses. Seeing the Dragon King look at his hidden profound sword in such a strange manner, his eyebrows trembled as he cautiously said, "This is my treasure, so what do you want? Don't tell me you want to take it by force and take it for yourself?" The Dragon King flew into a rage and snorted, "What do you think I, the Dragon King, am? There are countless treasures in the Dragon Clan. Why would I covet your magic weapon?" Tang Zheng looked at him suspiciously, half believing half doubtfully said, "Is that so? But why don't I believe you?" He recalled the Dragon King's actions and couldn't help but have a suspicious attitude. The Dragon King even wanted to take the advanced version of the Dragon God spell for himself. It was impossible for him to see the hidden sword and not do anything. When the Dragon King heard this, he was unable to restrain his anger. He took a deep breath and suppressed his impulse to immediately attack. He said, "The person chooses the magic weapon. The magic weapon also chooses the person. This is especially true for the saint-level magic weapon. Unknowingly, it will make a choice for its owner." The Dragon King looked at Tang Zhang meaningfully and continued, "It is impossible for a weak person to have a very powerful magic weapon. The magic weapon and its owner complement each other. It is impossible for a weak person to have a very heaven-defying magic weapon. He will not have the fortune to enjoy it and will definitely suffer a backlash. He will definitely die." Tang Zheng shivered. He had never heard of this theory. His magic weapons were all upgraded step by step. No one was a heaven-defying existence from the beginning. Could it be because of this that he did not suffer from a backlash? This magic weapon of yours is close to perfection. It is really hard to imagine how it became like this step by step. Especially the sacred pattern on it. It is perfect to the extreme. The Dragon King was not stingy with his praise. The Dragon Clan was born with a love for treasures. Naturally, they had trained a pair of fiery eyes. Therefore, the Dragon King would not be wrong. Tang Zheng's gaze subconsciously fell on the hidden sword. 2 sacred patterns. Could it be that it was close to perfection like the Dragon King said? No. He secretly denied it. Since the sacred pattern could be reduced, and the simpler the better, it could definitely be evolved. For example, it could evolve into a sacred pattern. Its power would definitely be stronger. Tang Zheng held the hidden sword in his hand. Seeing that the Dragon King had given up on the next attack, he slightly narrowed his eyes and looked at him. He said, "Aren't you going to attack?" "I'll wait." The Dragon King's expression kept changing. He moved his gaze from the hidden sword to Tang Zheng's face. That tall and straight body and resolute face was like an unsheathed sword. "Where did you come from?" After a while, the Dragon King asked seriously. Tang Zheng slightly frowned and said jokingly, "You finally remembered to ask about my origin. How rare." From the moment they entered the Dragon Palace until the two sides were at loggerheads, the Dragon King did not ask about Tang Zheng's origin. It was as if in his heart, his origin was not important and not worth mentioning. But when he saw the hidden sword, he actually changed his style and asked about Tang Zheng's origin. Therefore, even Tang Zheng himself could not figure it out. The Dragon King said coldly, "The Dragon Clan is a world where the strong are respected. Although you had a fortuitous encounter and even fused with the Dragon God's fragment, it was only a fortuitous encounter. The Dragon Clan does not respect people with fortuitous encounters. They only respect the strong." Tang Zheng thought back to the bumpy road he had walked. He did not exclude the fortuitous encounters, but more than that, it was his hard work and effort. A true strong person will not become strong because of 1 or 2 fortuitous encounters. Instead, they are good at using fortuitous encounters to create a truly strong person. Only those who are weak will be lucky and place all their hopes on fortuitous encounters. The Dragon King added. Tang Zheng seemed to have understood the Dragon King's reaction. Chapter 1597. You're giving me a chance? Hearing this, Tang Zheng and the Golden Dragon looked at each other in dismay, not understanding what the Dragon King meant. At the same time, his impression of the Dragon King changed. It seemed that his original understanding was not comprehensive, and the Dragon King was not as simple as he thought. A person was multifaceted, and so was the Dragon King. Especially the king of a clan. He could not be judged by a single standard. The Dragon King looked at him and nodded. "Didn't you want to announce the advanced version of the Dragon God technique and the method to sense the Dragon Slayer in public? Then I'll give you a chance. If you can pass, you will naturally have this chance." "What do you mean?" Tang Zheng asked. The Dragon King said meaningfully, "The dragon race respects the strong, only the strong have more choices. If you can pass the test, then it means that you are strong enough, and at that time you can naturally do as you wish." Tang Zheng thought for a while, and gradually understood his intentions. The Dragon King had prepared a test for him. If he passed, then everything would be fine. If he did not, then it would not be up to him. The Dragon King was indeed very overbearing, not giving Tang Zheng a chance to refute. But Tang Zheng was not someone who would back down. He was not afraid. He raised his head and said, "I would like to see what kind of test you have." The Dragon King gave an enigmatic smile and said, "Simple. You just have to pass the Dragon Cave." Dragon Cave. Hearing these 2 words, The golden dragon screamed in shock, revealing a look of fear. Tang Zheng looked at the golden dragon curiously and asked, "What is the dragon cave?" The Dragon King glanced at the golden dragon and said, "It seems that he knows far more than you. Then explain it to him." The golden dragon swallowed his saliva and said hesitantly, "Master, the dragon cave is the most dangerous place in the dragon realm. Once you enter, you will die 9 times out of 10. I heard that no dragon has ever walked out alive." So dangerous. Tang Zheng sucked in a breath of cold air. He did not expect the Dragon King's test to be so dangerous. "Wrong." The Dragon King suddenly stretched out his finger and shook it, saying, "You're wrong. It's not that no dragon has ever walked out of the dragon cave alive, it's just that there are too few of them. Do you know that every Dragon King came out of the dragon cave?" Tang Zheng's pupils constricted as he stared straight at the Dragon King. "You came out of the dragon cave?" The Dragon King raised his head proudly. Although he did not answer, his meaning was self-evident. "Okay, I promise you." Tang Zheng no longer hesitated, and decisively agreed. "Master." Hearing this, the golden dragon was shocked and blurted out. His face was full of anxiety. He didn't expect Tang Zheng to agree so easily. Tang Zheng looked at the golden dragon and nodded slightly. "Don't worry, if he can walk out of the dragon cave alive, can't I?" The golden dragon swallowed his words. He couldn't deny Tang Zheng. If he did, he would be defeated by the Dragon King. However, he was well aware of the dangers of the dragon cave. What if something unexpected happened? He didn't dare to continue thinking about it and could only pray silently. He took a deep breath and warned himself to believe in his master's strength. The Dragon King didn't expect Tang Zheng to agree so easily, and thought that he would refuse. He secretly nodded and said, "Although you haven't entered the dragon cave, your courage is commendable." The Dragon King had already determined that Tang Zheng would fail, but he also admired his fearless courage. Tang Zheng looked at him indifferently and didn't comment. The Dragon King didn't speak to him anymore and walked straight to the entrance of the Dragon Palace. All the conflicts temporarily disappeared. Tang Zheng and the Golden Dragon looked at each other and silently followed. Boom! The door opened automatically, and the 8 dragon envoys immediately surrounded them. They stared at Tang Zheng curiously and found that he was still alive and unharmed. They couldn't help but mutter in their hearts, guessing what had happened just now. However, it was all in vain. They couldn't guess at all. The other dragons also looked at Tang Zheng curiously and muttered in their hearts. The Dragon King raised his head and looked down at everyone. He pointed at Tang Zheng and said directly, "He will enter the dragon cave to accept the test." What? These words were like a heavy bomb, thrown into the crowd, and then set off a perilous wave. Everyone stared blankly at Tang Zheng, their eyes filled with an extremely complicated expression. Why would he agree to go to the dragon cave? What was the reason? Didn't he know the dangers of the dragon cave? What was the difference between this and suicide? However, there were also dragons who rejoiced in his misfortune. Among them was the dragon envoy who had a conflict with Tang Zheng just now. He looked at him mockingly as if saying that he was dead meat. The golden dragon looked at their reactions and gazes and felt indignant. He pouted and couldn't wait to clear his master's name. However, Tang Zheng was calm and collected as if he didn't see it at all. He said, "When I come out of the dragon cave, I hope to see all the dragons in the dragon domain gathered together. Then, I will make an announcement in public." Tang Zheng's voice was neither fast nor slow, neither light nor heavy. However, in the ears of the other dragons, it was like a thunderclap that attracted their attention. What was he going to announce in public? What agreement did he reach with the Dragon King? Pairs of eyes involuntarily looked at the Dragon King, but the Dragon King ignored them. Instead, he looked at Tang Zheng mockingly and said, "Then you have to come out of the dragon cave first. With so many dragons as witnesses, I hope you don't go back on your words. Otherwise, your prestige as the Dragon King will be questioned." Tang Zheng provoked. The Dragon King obviously knew that he couldn't deny this matter in front of everyone. However, that would only happen if Tang Zheng came out of the dragon cave. Among the dragons present, only the Dragon King had a deep understanding of the dangers of the dragon cave. He had the most right to speak. Therefore, he sized up Tang Zheng from head to toe and sneered in his heart. He didn't need to worry at all. It was all groundless worries. The other dragons were intrigued. They saw Tang Zheng looking at them. His voice was like rolling waves that surged and spread in all directions. I will enter the dragon cave today. If I am lucky enough to come out alive, I will bring a huge gift to the dragon clan. When these words came out, all the dragons were shocked and filled with curiosity. The Dragon King sneered and said to himself, although your words have piqued the curiosity of others, you can't pass through the dragon cave. Everything is in vain. In order to avoid slapping your own face in the future, you should speak less. Tang Zheng laughed dryly and said, this is my business. You don't need to worry. Where is the dragon cave? Bring me there. The Dragon King soared into the sky. A white cloud flew to his feet. The dragon envoys also soared into the sky. Somersault Cloud. Chapter 1598. In the dragon territory, news spread extremely quickly. In no time at all, the news of a dragon tribe entering the dragon cave had spread throughout the entire dragon territory. All the dragon tribe members put down what they were doing and gathered at the dragon cave. To the dragon clan, there was no one who did not know of the dragon cave's illustrious name. As for the location of the dragon cave, it was no secret. Therefore, the dragon clan rushed to the dragon cave from all directions for the sake of witnessing this grand occasion. As for who dared to enter the dragon cave, many of the dragon tribe members were still unsure. However, they were all filled with curiosity. After all, it had been many years since the dragon tribe dared to step into the dragon cave. However, no one had forgotten about the dragon cave. It was the deepest and most profound memory of all the dragon tribe members. All they needed was a catalyst and these memories would surge out like a tide. Word of mouth spread. Even the young dragon tribe members had a deep understanding of the dangers of the dragon cave. Naturally, they were also very curious about the dragon tribe members who dared to barge into the dragon cave. What was their motive and what was the mystery behind it? White clouds floated in the sky and covered the sun. The sky was completely covered by the white clouds. Even the sunlight could not penetrate the thick layer of clouds. Tang Zheng stood on the somersault cloud and stretched his neck to look. The Dragon King was extremely fast, but the somersault cloud was not slow at all. It was actually able to keep pace with the Dragon King. On the other hand, the other dragon tribe members, including the 8 dragon ambassadors, could not keep up with their speed. They could only be left behind. The golden dragon's eyes were full of splendor when he saw this. Although in his heart, Tang Zheng was already very powerful, he was still a dragon tribe member. Subconsciously, he still thought that there were more powerful figures in the dragon tribe. However, after seeing this scene, he could not help but be skeptical. Tang Zheng's realm was not what it used to be. It was not even something that he could completely guess. The other dragon tribe members were also shocked. The 8 dragon ambassadors had always been confident and proud. In the dragon territory, they were the most powerful figures below the Dragon King. However, they were left behind now. On the other hand, Tang Zheng was relaxed. On the other hand, they kept urging their powers to speed up. However, there was still a big gap between them and Tang Zheng and the Dragon King. This was a merciless suppression. No matter how the dragon envoy struggled, it was useless. He could only accept this reality sadly. Their gazes landed on the somersault cloud. They wondered how his cloud could move so quickly. This was not fair. After all, it was natural for the Dragon King to be faster than them. This was because the Dragon King had inherited the cloud from the previous Dragon King. This cloud had been tempered by the Dragon Kings, so it was natural that no one else could compare to it. In front of them, a thick black cloud appeared. It was dark and oppressive, occupying a large part of the sky. It was even more terrifying than the black clouds before the storm. Above the 9 heavens, not a single ray of sunlight could penetrate this black cloud. It was like a sturdy barrier that blocked everything, forming a system of its own. Something's wrong. This was the first time Tang Zheng had seen this black cloud, but he immediately saw through it. It was definitely not an ordinary black cloud. The golden dragon's eyes also widened as it looked at this scene curiously. It did not know what this black cloud was. The Dragon King stopped beside the black cloud. He looked meaningfully at the somersault cloud that had stopped at the same time as him. His gaze was deep. Along the way, he had made many changes, sometimes fast and sometimes slow. However, the somersault cloud followed him like a shadow and did not fall behind at all. The cloud under his feet was called the imminent ruler, which meant that it was close at hand to describe its speed. Even if it was far away, it was only a short distance away. My imminent ruler was tempered by the previous Dragon Kings. How can it be comparable to his cloud? How did he get such a powerful cloud from Langya Pavilion? What's so powerful about this cloud? Why does he have so many treasures on him? The Dragon King muttered in his heart, but he did not have an answer. He could only point at the black cloud in front of him and say, "We've arrived at the dragon lair." This is the dragon lair? Tang Zheng frowned. Even the golden dragon looked at the black cloud in surprise. No matter what, they did not expect the infamous dragon lair to be like this. The Dragon King laughed coldly and said, "What? Don't you dare to go in? It's not too late for you to admit defeat now. You just have to give me what I want." Tang Zheng remained calm and collected, his gaze fixed on the top of the dragon cave. From the layers and layers of incomparably thick black clouds, he could feel a mysterious energy being emitted from them. The Dragon King's face stiffened and he did not try to persuade him anymore. Clearly, Tang Zheng had made up his mind. "Master, be careful," the golden dragon said worriedly. Then, he walked down the somersault cloud and a white cloud rose under his feet. Tang Zheng nodded at him and said casually, "I'll be back soon. Wait for me. As for the other dragons, you can take a good look. I'd like to see what dangers there are in this dragon lair." As soon as he finished speaking, the somersault cloud flew toward the dragon lair. More and more dragons followed behind him. All of them widened their eyes and looked at the sturdy back view. He did not hesitate or refuse. That resolute figure of his made people respect him. Even the dragons who did not know him could not help but think highly of him. They did not know if he would succeed, but his aura had convinced many dragons. The golden dragon looked at the reactions of the other dragons and felt proud of him. However, the Dragon King frowned deeply and started to doubt whether his idea was good or bad. Would he be shooting himself in the foot? No. He immediately rejected this idea. Ridiculous. What kind of place was the dragon lair? There were dragons who did not know the immensity of heaven and earth and wanted to explore it. All of them were destroyed in body and spirit. Of course, this was excluding the Dragon King. The Dragon King knew very well what was in the dragon lair. Back then, he had a narrow escape and almost could not walk out. The dragon lair was getting closer and closer. In Tang Zheng's eyes, it was getting bigger and bigger. In the end, it completely occupied his pupils. Even his pupils were reflected in black. "Somersault cloud, it's up to us this time," Tang Zheng said softly. Then with a thought, the somersault cloud suddenly accelerated and rushed into the dragon lair. Darkness. Endless darkness. It was comparable to the darkness he saw when he passed through the space door. There was no light at all and it was as dark as day. Suddenly, a ball of gentle white light lit up in the dark world. This was the light of the somersault cloud. This light seemed gentle, but it dispelled the surrounding darkness. Tang Zheng could finally see some clues. He widened his eyes and looked carefully. However, he could not see anything useful. There were only dark clouds in the surroundings. Even the somersault clouds seemed to be infected by the dark clouds. They keep saying that there are dangers in the dragon lair. I'd like to see what dangers there are. Chapter 1599. The dragon cave seemed to have no end. It looked like a black cloud, but in reality, it was like another world, a world that was completely dark. Kacha! Suddenly, a ray of light appeared in front of him. This ray of light was actually able to pass through the darkness and reach such a far distance. It could be seen how extraordinary it was. There's finally something. Tang Zheng was secretly delighted, and was on full alert. Kacha! Another ray of light flashed, bringing with it a sound. Just now the light seemed to be far away, but now it seemed to be close at hand. Tang Zheng was shocked. He could see some clues from this change. Before he could figure it out, the light had already arrived in front of him. Boom! With a loud bang, a bright light descended from the sky. He finally saw it clearly. It was a bolt of lightning as thick as an arm, and it directly landed on his head. He was startled and hurriedly circulated his internal energy. However, the speed of the lightning was too fast for him to react. Therefore, he was not fully prepared and was already struck by lightning. Boom! The blazing high temperature directly evaporated his clothes, leaving him naked. At the same time, his entire body turned charred black, emitting a burnt smell. The lightning's powerful energy seemed to want to evaporate him. Fortunately, he had cultivated the primal chaos Vajra spell and his body had reached an indestructible state, which was why he was able to escape this calamity. The thundercloud beast was also good at releasing lightning, but compared to this bolt of lightning, it was really lacking. This bolt of lightning was even more powerful than the lightning that fell from the sky. His guess was correct. The lightning in the dragon cave was completely different from the lightning in the outside world, and its power was even more incomparable. This caused many of the Dragon Clan who had sworn to barge into the dragon cave to be turned into ashes without even being able to withstand the first bolt of lightning. The dragon scales of the Dragon Clan were also impenetrable by water and fire, but they were still powerless in the face of this lightning. Tang Zheng clenched his teeth, ignoring the pain of his flesh being torn apart. His thoughts flew as he muttered, "I understand, so the danger of the dragon cave is actually this thing." Just as this thought flashed through his mind, his surroundings lit up, and another bolt of lightning flashed. No, this was not a single bolt of lightning, but many bolts of lightning. They swarmed over and sealed off his path of retreat. He took a deep breath and finally had the chance to circulate his power. Hua! Hua! Like a surging river, his true energy flowed into his 8 extraordinary meridians and bones. His wounds and charred skin regained vitality at this moment. However, in the next second, lightning surged in from all directions, arriving unexpectedly and ruthlessly striking him again. Ah! Tang Zheng let out a blood-curdling scream. His entire body stiffened as he floated horizontally into the air. The electric current drilled into his skin and flowed along his meridians. Wherever it passed, his muscles, bones, and even his cells became numb and tingling. This caused him to be momentarily unable to move. Heavenly Book. However, he did not give up. With a thought, the meaning of the supernatural powers in the Heavenly Book was revealed. Waves of energy nourished his body and mind, and he could move again. His first thought was to retreat. His figure flashed as he retreated back the way he came. He had already tasted it, so he definitely did not want to do it a second time. This time, his body almost could not take it. If he did not rely on the chaotic Vajra mantra, he would have been finished. This was the power of the dragon cave. He finally understood why the Dragon Clan was so fearful. He wasn't sure if there would be more attacks coming, so he decided to retreat for now. However, he had only taken a few steps back when he suddenly braked and stopped because a bolt of lightning had appeared behind him. The dragon cave seemed to have seen through his intentions and did not give him a chance to escape. He had never thought that once he entered the dragon cave, unless he forced his way out, unless his body and soul were destroyed, there was no third way out. As for giving up halfway and escaping, the dragon cave would never allow such a thing to happen. Only now did he realize this, but it was already too late. There was no way for him to escape. He could only watch as the lightning behind him struck him again in the blink of an eye. In that instant, he lost the ability to move. Numerous cracks appeared on his body. They were like ravines that covered the earth. It was as if he was about to shatter into pieces. Ouch! It hurt so much! He opened his mouth wide and let out a dry howl. He desperately circulated his energy to repair his body, but the speed of repair was not faster than the speed of destruction. Therefore, his body remained in this state. Horrifying cracks spread all over his body. It was as if he would shatter into pieces at the slightest touch of a finger. Huff huff. He kept breathing, trying his best to calm himself down. After all, even the chaotic Vajra spell seemed to have reached its limit. If it were to happen again, then he might not be able to withstand it. The more he was worried about something, the more it would happen. A bolt of lightning once again appeared out of thin air. This bolt of lightning was quite different from the previous one. Those bolts of lightning were all silvery white, but this bolt of lightning was actually a little red. It was like a combination of fire and lightning. Extremely strange. Tang Zheng's heart trembled as he inwardly cried out, "This lightning is even more powerful and it is endless. I don't know how much more there is, but my body can't take it anymore. Even the so-called 1,000 tempering 100 refinement cannot compare to this." He really didn't want to try the taste of this bolt of lightning, but it had already descended mercilessly. Boom! With a loud sound, Tang Zheng's muscles were dismembered. The red lightning was like a sharp blade, slicing through his muscles and separating his flesh from his bones. When the muscles left his body, they were immediately engulfed by the red lightning and disappeared without a trace. Not long after, Tang Zheng's muscles had almost completely disappeared, peeling off from his bones. If anyone else saw this scene, they would definitely be scared out of their wits. Tang Zheng lowered his head to look at himself. Other than his head and heart, there was really only his bones left. Am I not dead yet? His heart was filled with fear as he turned pale with fright. He turned his eyes and looked around. The world returned to its original darkness and tranquility, and even the red lightning on his body had completely disappeared. The light of the somersault cloud had also disappeared. If not for the fact that his feet were solid, he would have thought that the somersault cloud was gone as well. But without a doubt, the somersault cloud had also been greatly affected. Is that it? No more lightning? He muttered to himself, his voice echoing, but no one answered him. But what should he do? He couldn't possibly go out with this body, right? Wouldn't that scare a group of Dragon Clan to death? Boom! Before he could think of a way, the sky above his head lit up again. A bolt of lightning appeared out of nowhere, but this time, it was different. It was actually crimson like blood, so red that it made one's hair stand on end. This bolt of lightning must be even more powerful. Chapter 1600. The red lightning arrived unexpectedly. Rumble! The world had completely turned crimson, and even the surrounding darkness was infected by this crimson color. Tang Zheng was completely submerged in this red color, and he couldn't see anything from the outside. Ah! Screams rang out, but they stopped abruptly. However, another sound gradually grew louder, like the beating of a drum. Bang bang bang. It was full of rhythm. Heartbeat. This was actually the sound of a heartbeat and not the sound of a drum. Yes, this was the sound of Qi Yu's heart beating. Now, it was Tang Zheng's heart. It was closely connected to him and had become an indispensable part of him. The previous bolts of lightning had not been able to destroy it, but after encountering this red bolt of lightning, it finally showed a slight reaction. It jumped rapidly, and as it pulsed and contracted, a powerful vitality filled the air. It actually enveloped Tang Zheng and offset the terrifying power of the red bolt of lightning. Whoosh! Tang Zheng finally had a chance to take a deep breath. He looked at his heart in surprise. At the critical moment, it actually resisted. Even the chaotic Vajra spell was not able to completely resist it, and only managed to protect his bones. However, his heart actually managed to survive, and the life force that was released made Tang Zheng's eyes light up. His bones had changed, and some muscles had grown on them. Tang Zheng's eyes lit up. He immediately understood what was going on. The life force in his heart had caused this change, which meant that his lost body could be restored bit by bit. He never thought that the heart would be so useful. Seeing himself grow out bit by bit, it was a very strange feeling. It was as if he had been reborn from the ashes and experienced a new life. He was even a little dazed. The red lightning continued to attack, trying to break through the defense created by the heart. After an unknown period of time. Kacha! After a loud bang, the defense was finally broken through. The lightning swept over and rushed to the bones and muscles. Tang Zheng glared and roared. The heart had given him new hope. He had almost given up hope just now because lightning's unstoppable attack was too strong. Coupled with the unanimous words of the dragon tribe, it gave him the illusion that the dragon cave was really invincible. Therefore, he almost fell into despair. However, after seeing the performance of the heart, he suddenly realized that there was nothing absolute in this world. Moreover, even the Dragon King could walk out of the dragon cave alive. Why couldn't he? Was he really going to lose to the Dragon King? Once they failed, what would happen to the dragon race? Wouldn't the dragon slayers be able to do whatever they want in the Langya Pavilion? Therefore, one thought after another swept over like a tide, causing his confidence to instantly return. Wang! A beam of sword light flashed. The hidden mystic sword moved. The hidden mystic sword fused into Tang Zheng's body. When his body was destroyed, the hidden mystic sword did not suffer any damage. It kept its light and aura hidden. When Tang Zheng regained his confidence, the hidden mystic sword seemed to have sensed its master's mood. It began to hum loudly, as if it was responding to his heart. Whoosh! Whoosh! Beams of sword light soared into the sky and met the crimson lightning head-on. Boom! Heaven and earth trembled, and the black clouds trembled. The lightning seemed to be splitting the darkness and destroying everything. However, Tang Zhang, who was enveloped by the sword light, stood tall like a pine tree. No matter how the wind blew, he remained unmoved. The crimson lightning and the sword light continued to clash. The two forces of energy went back and forth, and it was a joyous battle. Tang Zheng forgot about everything and was completely immersed in the wonderful state of recovering his body. At the same time, in the outside world, countless dragons of all sizes had gathered outside the dragon cave. By word of mouth, everyone understood what was going on. Those who came late shook their heads regretfully. They regretted not being able to see the brave warrior who rushed into the dragon cave courageously. They would not be able to see him again. He would definitely be buried in the dragon cave, just like many fearless dragons in the past. The golden dragon clenched his fists and watched the scene nervously. With his eyesight and experience, he naturally could not see what was going on in the dragon cave. However, with such a huge commotion, he could not help but worry about Tang Zheng. What if he failed? Then wouldn't the dragon clan's hope be completely lost? He subconsciously turned his head to look at the Dragon King and saw that the latter had a relaxed look on his face. Apparently, the Dragon King was certain that Tang Zheng wouldn't be able to come out. In that case, wouldn't the advanced version of the Dragon God technique be lost? The Dragon King seemed to have sensed something. He turned his head to look at the golden dragon and said meaningfully, "You also know the advanced version of the Dragon God mantra, right?" Ah! The golden dragon was caught off guard and was shocked. How did he guess? The Dragon King's eyes lit up as he clicked his tongue in wonder. Sure enough, the golden dragon was enlightened. No wonder he dared to let Tang Zheng enter the dragon cave and was not worried that the advanced version of the Dragon God technique would disappear with Tang Zheng. In fact, the Dragon King had already guessed that Tang Zheng had already passed the advanced version of the Dragon God technique to the golden dragon. In other words, the Dragon King could still find out everything from the golden dragon. The golden dragon felt a chill in his heart. Could it be that this was all part of the Dragon King's scheme? He couldn't be sure. He clenched his teeth and stared at the Dragon King, saying resolutely, "If Master doesn't come out, I won't reveal a single word." The Dragon King did not care. He laughed dryly and said meaningfully, "Is that so?" Hee hee. After he finished speaking, his gaze turned towards the dragon cave. The golden dragon's heart started to beat rapidly as he secretly prayed for his master to return safely. Otherwise, he was not sure if he could keep the advanced version of the Dragon God technique. He would not open his mouth, but there were many things that could be done without speaking. He believed that the Dragon King definitely had the strength and means to do so. Tang Zheng wholeheartedly immersed himself in the process of reconstructing his body. With the defense of the hidden mysterious sword, the process of reconstructing his body was extremely smooth. Finally, his body was completely reconstructed. Every inch of his skin was even more perfect than before, filled with the beauty of strength. He raised his palm and looked at it, feeling that his strength had become even stronger. It's a blessing in disguise. The power of the heart is so great. Of course, if it wasn't for the chaotic Vajra spell, I'm afraid that even the bones wouldn't have been able to be preserved. Then, it wouldn't have been easy to reconstruct the body. He thought about it carefully and seemed to have understood something. Wang! A sword cry rang out, and the hidden mysterious sword flew back into his hand. He raised the hidden mysterious sword high up in the air, and the crimson lightning from all directions interweaved together, like a lightning snake, whizzing over. Break! With a loud roar, the sword light rushed out and coincidentally hit the crimson lightning. In the blink of an eye, the sword light was dazzling. Time and space stood still for a few seconds before exploding. Rumble, rumble, rumble. The sword light was invincible. Everything returned to dust, earth returned to earth, and the heavens and earth became peaceful again. Phew! He let out a long breath and looked around. Everything was quiet and returned to darkness, as if everything from before was an illusion. Chapter 1601. Is this the end? Just as this thought flashed through Tang Zheng's mind, an unforeseen event occurred. A huge purple lightning bolt descended from the sky. This lightning bolt was thicker than the previous one. It was as if this was the only lightning bolt left in the world. Nothing else could be compared to it. Tang Zheng widened his eyes and could not help but shout, F***CK. Although there was still some distance between them, he could clearly feel the terrifying power contained in the purple lightning bolt. Rumble. Unknowingly, the Dragon King's expression changed. It was no longer contempt. Instead, it became serious and dignified. He could not help but clench his fists. Hearing the rumble of thunder and the faint purple light, he muttered softly. He actually made it to the last step. Amazing. Amazing. Yes. He had to admit that Tang Zheng was more powerful than he had expected. However, the power of this purple lightning is far greater than other lightning bolts. Back then, my soul almost dissipated. He definitely can't withstand it. Therefore, he doesn't have much time left. The Dragon King clenched his fists even tighter as if to confirm his thoughts. The expressions of the other Dragon Clan-s were also very interesting. Although they had never entered the Dragon Cave before, when they heard the movements inside, as well as the faintly discernible terrifying aura, they could already determine the danger inside. They couldn't help but swallow their saliva, as if they had experienced it themselves. Would there be a miracle? Just like the previous Dragon Kings, he would create a miracle and come out of the Dragon Cave alive. None of the dragons were confident. Even the Golden Dragon's confidence in Tang Zheng was shaken. After all, the danger of the Dragon Cave was beyond his expectations. In fact, this was also beyond Tang Zheng's expectations. He looked up at the sky and saw that the purple lightning bolt was aiming at him. It was about to fall. He glanced at the hidden mystic sword in his hand. Although it was very brave and blocked the red lightning, it might not be able to block the purple lightning. It turned out that he did not have time. In a hurry, he could not prepare an effective counterattack. However, it was different this time. The purple lightning was too powerful, so it took a long time to prepare. He had enough time to judge and prepare a counterattack. Whoosh! He took a deep breath. Somehow, he had a feeling that this was a critical moment. Success or failure would depend on this one move. If he could withstand this tribulation, then victory would be in sight. If he couldn't, then his little life would probably end here. The hidden mystic sword can only be used as a backup plan. With such a huge amount of energy, only the sky-swallowing technique has a chance. He already had an idea in his mind. The giant hands intertwined, and with a crash, a black hole appeared between the two hands. The black hole rapidly expanded, like a bottomless mouth, aiming at the purple lightning in midair. Boom! Thunder pierced through the sky, and this was the only sound left in the Dragon Cave. Lightning fell from the sky, quickly, ruthlessly, and accurately towards Tang Zheng. Sky-swallowing technique. Tang Zheng looked up to the sky and let out a long howl. His voice was also drowned out by the thunder, but his eyes, which were as bright as stars, were not drowned out by the purple lightning. The black hole hovered steadily above his head. It didn't become too big, but instead, it guarded that area. It gave off a grandiose aura of one man guarding the pass, while 10,000 men couldn't get through. The purple lightning was about to hit the black hole. The surrounding black clouds trembled violently and were torn apart, retreating in all directions. However, the black hole remained motionless. Boom! The purple lightning finally hit the black hole. The black hole trembled, becoming more and more intense, but it didn't retreat any distance. It steadily blocked above Tang Zheng, like a giant umbrella for him. Whoosh! A bolt of purple lightning was sucked into the black hole. Tang Zheng's eyes lit up. His judgment was right. The power of the sky-swallowing technique was indeed extraordinary. It could even absorb such a terrifying bolt of lightning. However, the speed at which the sky-swallowing technique absorbed the purple lightning wasn't fast. It was unlike other things, which could be completely absorbed in the blink of an eye. After the purple lightning entered the black hole, Tang Zheng's head moved, and he immediately sensed that there was a change in the heaven realm. In the past, when things entered the heaven realm, they would turn into pure energy, but this purple lightning wasn't like that. A part of it turned into energy, while the other part remained in its original form, turning into electric snakes flashing in the sky. His heart trembled. The power of this purple lightning wasn't small. It would be better if it didn't mess up his heaven realm. Crow's beak. He couldn't wait to slap himself. Because, just as this thought flashed through his mind, the purple lightning struck towards the tree of life. No! He could control every plant and tree in the heaven realm. Naturally, He could also control the purple lightning. When the thought of no flashed through his mind, the rapidly descending purple lightning stopped. It was still a little distance away from the Tree of Life. In the end, it didn't hit the Tree of Life. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. He took a deep breath with lingering fear, and a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. This was the Heaven Realm, a world that was under his control. In the Heaven Realm, the purple lightning couldn't do whatever it wanted. It had to listen to his control. Whoosh! Suddenly, a mysterious power exploded in the Heaven Realm. His heart trembled. Before he could react, the purple lightning fell again and hit the Tree of Life. What's going on? He didn't expect that there would be a careless mistake under his nose, causing the purple lightning to break free from his imprisonment. He hurriedly looked at the Tree of Life, afraid that it would be destroyed. The Tree of Life glowed with a purple light. Crackling sounds could be heard from the tree. Streaks of purple lightning slithered across the branches like small snakes. They then drilled into the tree and disappeared without a trace. Tang Zheng's head trembled. He stared blankly at this scene. He didn't understand. It seemed that the purple lightning didn't hurt the Tree of Life. The Tree of Life is actually growing. When the purple lightning disappeared, Tang Zheng was surprised to find that the Tree of Life was growing taller. The trunk, branches and leaves had all changed. His eyes lit up, and he immediately understood. The purple lightning didn't want to attack the Tree of Life. It was the Tree of Life that was actively attracting it. In fact, the last mysterious power came from the Tree of Life, which caused the purple lightning to break free from his imprisonment. The purple lightning seemed to be tempering the Tree of Life, allowing it to grow vigorously. Ha ha ha, I was worried that the Tree of Life would be destroyed. I was completely wrong. In front of the Tree of Life, the purple lightning is like a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. It's food for the Tree of Life. He felt relieved and finally relaxed. He desperately activated the sky swallowing technique. Chapter 1602. The absorption of the purple lightning by the black hole became smoother and smoother. More and more purple lightning was sucked into the Heaven Realm. Sister-in-law Suakur said, "Look at the most beautiful woman." A part of it turned into energy, and a part of it continued to be purple lightning, but it was all absorbed by the Tree of Life. After being tempered by the purple lightning, the Tree of Life had grown into a towering tree. It was becoming more and more similar to the Tree of Life in the human world. Gradually, Tang Zheng gave up his control and let the Tree of Life take charge of everything. Somehow, he sensed something and began to circulate the sky-devouring technique. All of this was as smooth as flowing water. The purple lightning became fewer and fewer. The darkness returned to the dragon cave bit by bit. Tang Zheng had already closed his eyes and was completely immersed in the Heaven Realm. He knew very well that the purple lightning no longer posed a threat. Instead, the changes in the Heaven Realm were the main focus of his attention. The sky swallowing technique was named sky swallowing, and the last level was also sky swallowing. Seeing that it had swallowed all the purple lightning, the Tree of Life had also completed its growth. His heart skipped a beat, and he seemed to have understood something. Whoosh! A green light spurted out from the Tree of Life, dyeing the Heaven Realm green. Wherever the green light passed, the barren land became green. It was actually plants that broke out of the ground and grew magically. There were more and more plants, growing more and more lush and tall. Gradually it became a small forest, a large forest. The Tree of Life stood in the center of the forest, towering into the clouds. Tang Zheng felt the vigorous vitality emitted from these plants, making him feel refreshed. In the past, it was not easy for him to create a blade of grass, and it would consume a lot of energy. But at this moment, under the influence of the Tree of Life, the growth of plants became much easier. There are specializations in every field, and the Tree of Life is far better than me. He nodded to himself and compared it with the Tree of Life in the human world. The Tree of Life in the human world could turn a desert into an oasis. This might be the effect of the Tree of Life. If I cultivate in the Heaven Realm, my cultivation speed will definitely be faster than in the human world. He suddenly thought of something and sighed. Although the spiritual energy of heaven and earth had recovered in the human world, it was still inferior to the spiritual energy of the Heaven Realm when it was first established. The abundance of spiritual energy in the Heaven Realm was simply unimaginable. There were many kinds of energy, not only the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, but also the power of the stars. Both cultivators and martial artists could live and cultivate here. It would not be like the 100,000 Mountains, which was just a cultivation paradise for martial artists and was like a forbidden area for cultivators. The Tree of Life had stopped growing, but the changes in the heaven realm were still ongoing. The speed of change was getting faster and faster. Tang Zheng was overwhelmed by the changes, and his emotions were surging. Suddenly, the green light that filled the sky suddenly changed direction. It didn't scatter towards the vast land, but gathered together and rushed towards the sky. What kind of change will this be? He fell into deep thought. Boom! The green light hit the sky, and the sky turned green as well. It was like a huge green dome. The mysterious changes in the sky and the ground changed from inside to outside, from slow to fast. Tang Zheng pondered for a moment. Then, he started to circulate the sky-swallowing technique. Lines of mantras flowed through his mind like floating clouds and flowing water. The black hole above his head didn't disappear. Instead, it kept changing. Sometimes it expanded, sometimes it shrank. The aura it emitted became more and more violent. Whoosh whoosh. The surrounding air was sucked into the black hole. Even the black clouds were no exception. They were sucked into the black hole bit by bit. The size of the dragon cave was unimaginable. Even the Dragon King didn't know how big the dragon cave was. In any case, it was vast and layered with black clouds that didn't pass through. A black cloud was completely sucked into the black hole. In the next second, it appeared in the heaven realm. It floated in the sky, but there was no change. This scene made Tang Zheng feel astonished. After all, after other things were sucked into the black hole, they would turn into pure energy and enter the heaven realm. Even a portion of the purple lightning was dissolved. However, this black cloud entered the heaven realm untouched. The dragon cave is indeed not simple. These black clouds are not ordinary clouds either. TSK. Interesting. Interesting. Tang Zheng's eyes lit up. The power of the sky-swallowing technique grew stronger and stronger. More and more black clouds were sucked into the heaven realm. A vacuum appeared around Tang Zheng, but immediately, black clouds filled the vacuum. The black clouds were sucked into the heaven realm one after another. Black clouds appeared in the sky of the heaven realm, as if a storm was coming. If I can control everything in the heaven realm, then can these black clouds be controlled by me as well? Tang Zheng suddenly thought of something. With a thought, the black cloud immediately moved according to his thoughts. Ha ha ha, it really can be used by me. He was overjoyed, his face beaming with joy. Crack! A lightning snake flashed in the clouds. This was also under Tang Zheng's control. He could clearly feel the energy contained within the lightning. The dragon cave is not as terrifying as the Dragon King said. As long as we can control the dragon cave, it can definitely become a treasure trove, and not a monster that everyone is afraid of. After experiencing the test of the dragon cave, he finally understood the value of the dragon cave. Those lightning bolts could temper his body, and ever since his body was reconstructed, he clearly felt that his body had become stronger. Lightning and Primal Chaos Vajra spell complemented each other and supplemented each other. Primal Chaos Vajra spell could protect his life, so he wouldn't really lose his life under the attack of lightning. However, after his body was destroyed and reconstructed, although the process was painful, it would definitely be a type of rebirth, and his body would become even more sturdy. He had already left the indestructible realm of the Primal Chaos Vajra spell, and was creating a new realm that belonged to him. If it was possible for others to accept the refinement of the Dragon Cave's lightning in the future, their bodies would become even stronger and they would benefit greatly. Haha, the Dragon King would never have dreamed that I would be able to absorb the Dragon Cave. Since that's the case, I can't let you off so easily. I might as well absorb the entire Dragon Cave into the heaven realm. What you don't want is a huge treasure. Whoosh whoosh. The heaven swallowing method seemed to have gone crazy as it frantically absorbed the black clouds. More and more black clouds in the Dragon Cave moved inwards and disappeared into the black hole. This caused the Dragon Cave to seem as if it had collapsed and actually shrunk inwards. Dragon clans stood outside the Dragon Cave. After the lightning disappeared, everything became calm. They all revealed looks of regret and whispered to each other. Another one who isn't afraid of death. But what's the use? Isn't it the same as before, with his soul scattered? Yeah, if it was that easy to get out of the Dragon Cave, then everyone would have gone in. Even a fool would know that there would be gains in the dragon cave and that the body would be tempered to the extreme. The dragon clan knew very well that every dragon clan that walked out of the dragon cave would become the next dragon king. The dragon clan respected the strong, so who wouldn't want to become the dragon king? However, until now, no dragon clan dared to step into the dragon cave. They knew their own limits. The dragon king finally heaved a sigh of relief. He retracted his gaze from the dragon cave and there was no movement. He was very sure that Tang Zheng had died under the lightning. Chapter 1603. The Dragon King glared at the Golden Dragon aggressively. The Golden Dragon's heart skipped a beat as he took a step back subconsciously. His face was pale as he said in a panic, "Dragon King, I won't tell you if Master doesn't tell you." The Dragon King's lips curled into a smile as he said proudly, "As expected, I didn't guess wrongly. You know everything. He actually told you everything." The Golden Dragon was stunned as he shook his head hurriedly. I don't know. Ha ha ha, too late." The Dragon King laughed maniacally. Suddenly, his smile disappeared as he said in a deep voice, "You're a member of the dragon race. If you dare to disobey my orders, you'll be betraying the dragon race. Do you know that?" The Golden Dragon hesitated with a hesitant expression. The other dragons did not understand what the Dragon King wanted, but seeing how the Golden Dragon dared to openly disobey the Dragon King's orders, they were all furious and reprimanded him loudly. The Golden Dragon became the target of public criticism. His will wavered as his eyes were filled with hesitation. The Dragon King looked at the Golden Dragon proudly, certain that he would not be able to withstand this pressure. No dragon would be able to withstand this pressure and would definitely submit. Of course, Tang Zheng was an exception. He was an anomaly. The Dragon King did not have time to think as he pressed on. The Golden Dragon took a few more steps back. Finally, he stopped and raised his head. There was no panic in his eyes. Instead, he calmed down and said firmly, "Dragon King, no matter what excuse you use to force me, I will never tell you against my master's wishes." "Then are you betraying the dragon race?" the Dragon King asked. "If that's the case, then I have no other choice." The Golden Dragon no longer retreated and said firmly. The Dragon King was furious. "Good, very good. You actually betrayed the dragon race for him. Do you know what this means? What punishment will you suffer?" "I know. Even if I have to pay with my life, I have no regrets. That's because my life was given to me by Master. If not for him, I would still be suppressed by Yu Jing." The Golden Dragon seemed to have sunk into his memories, but his will was even firmer. Seeing the Golden Dragon's reaction, the other dragons widened their eyes in shock. The Dragon King had always been high and mighty. No dragon had ever dared to disobey him like this, especially in front of everyone. Everyone looked at each other in dismay, unable to believe what they were seeing. Who was he? Where did he come from? Since when did such a daring anomaly appear in the dragon race? The Dragon King was furious, but he couldn't help but sigh. Birds of a feather flocked together. He originally thought that he could convince the Golden Dragon with just a few words, but he didn't expect that the Golden Dragon would dare to refute him in public. Actually, the Dragon King did not need to use such a method. However, regarding the advanced version of the Dragon God mantra and the ability to sense the Dragon Slayer, this was a matter of great importance. He had to take it seriously. Thus, he had no choice but to use this kind of method to force his own clansmen. This wasn't very honorable, but for the sake of the Dragon Clan's future, he had to do this. Tang Zheng was already dead, and the Dragon King would never allow these two supernatural powers to be hidden. They had to be in his hands so that he could be prepared to deal with the Dragon Slayers. The Dragon King lowered his head slightly and looked down at the Golden Dragon. He said in an imposing manner, "Your master is already dead. It seems that you are going to follow in his footsteps." "Master definitely won't die." The Golden Dragon insisted. "Master will create miracles. He won't die. He's definitely still alive." "Miracle?" The Dragon King curled his lips in disdain. "I'd like to see what kind of miracle there is." The Golden Dragon was speechless. He didn't know what kind of miracle there would be. However, there was no movement in the Dragon Cave. This probably meant that Tang Zheng's fate was more likely than not. The Golden Dragon didn't dare to think too much. "Dragon King, There seems to be a change in the dragon cave. Suddenly, a dragon envoy turned pale with fright and stared straight at the dragon cave. What nonsense are you talking about? How could there be a change in the dragon cave? The Dragon King was immersed in the joy of victory. When he heard this, it was especially ear-piercing. He frowned in displeasure. Dragon King, it's true. The dragon envoy's voice didn't weaken at all. Instead, there was a strong sense of uneasiness in his tone. The Dragon King finally turned his head slowly and looked towards the dragon cave. The other dragons also turned their heads and looked at the dragon cave in surprise. Hiss! The dragons all sucked in cold air and looked at the dragon cave in disbelief. The air seemed to have frozen and time seemed to have stopped. The golden dragon frowned. He didn't know what was going on. He turned around curiously and faced the dragon cave. Immediately, his eyes widened and his breathing quickened. All the dragons' breathing quickened. Even the Dragon King was no exception. His expression was extremely interesting. He opened his mouth and muttered to himself in disbelief. Why did the dragon cave become smaller? Since ancient times, the size of the dragon cave had never changed. At least, there were no changes visible to the naked eye. However, at this moment, the dragon cave had become smaller and could be seen with the naked eye. The Dragon King swallowed his saliva and secretly exclaimed, "Why is this happening?" Before all the dragons could figure out what was going on, the dragon cave suddenly shrank again. This happened in the blink of an eye. The change in the dragon cave caught everyone off guard. This. All the dragons couldn't describe their current feelings. It was as if their brains had crashed. The dragon cave shrank once again. The originally vast dragon cave had shrunk by a third. Only the dragon clan knew how terrifying this was. Why is this happening? Finally, the Dragon King couldn't help but roar. However, no dragon could answer his question. After all, he was the king of a clan. If even he couldn't answer, others naturally wouldn't know the answer. The golden dragon raised his eyebrows and realized something. He blurted out, "Master, it must be Master." "Ha ha ha, I knew Master would create miracles. How could he die? He definitely won't die." The golden dragon was elated and almost danced with joy. "It's him." When the Dragon King heard this, his heart trembled. Could it really be that guy? If it wasn't him, who else had the ability to make the dragon cave smaller? However, when the Dragon King entered the dragon cave, he didn't make the dragon cave change like this. What ability did that guy have to do this? What impact would this have on the dragon cave? What benefits would that guy gain from this? The Dragon King couldn't figure it out. He really wanted to rush in and investigate, but when he thought of the terror of the dragon cave, he stopped. The shock in the hearts of all the dragons could be imagined. They stared at the dragon cave with burning eyes, not knowing what would happen next. However, all the dragons agreed with the golden dragon's words. This definitely had something to do with Tang Zheng. Immediately, their interest in Tang Zheng increased. Just which rock did he jump out from? He actually caused such a huge change in the dragon cave. To read the latest novel, please visit the website. Chapter 1604. Under the dumbfounded gazes of all the dragons, the dragon cave underwent another earth-shattering change. It shrank by another third. Immediately, the sound of people sucking in cold breaths rose and fell one after another among the dragon clan. The change in the dragon cave was too unexpected. The change was so fast that it was too much for the eyes to take in. No one knew what would happen next. The dragons looked at each other, not knowing what to do. Could it be that they were just going to watch it continue to shrink? The Dragon King seemed to have realized something. He suddenly took a few steps forward, trying to stop all of this. But before he could touch the dragon cave, it disappeared. Yes, it disappeared into thin air in front of all the dragons. The air froze, and the surroundings were dead silent. "Ah!" A cry of surprise sounded from the dragons. Then, loud cries rose and fell one after another. The dragon cave actually disappeared. The Dragon King's pupils constricted, and his mind was shaken. He couldn't remember how many years it had been since he was so shocked. His heart seemed to be about to jump out of his throat. He had imagined many situations, but this was definitely not the case. The dragon cave disappeared, But another figure jumped into the eyes of all the dragons. Without a doubt, this figure immediately became the focus of everyone's attention. Tang Zheng. He was floating in the air with his eyes closed, as if he was resting. Tang Zheng's consciousness was immersed in the heaven realm. He did not expect the sky-swallowing technique to be so powerful. It did not take long for it to absorb the dragon cave. The dragon cave did not disappear. Instead, it shifted its position and entered the heaven realm. Above the 9 heavens of the heaven realm, a huge black cloud floated. It was exactly the same as the dragon cave in the dragon realm. Lightning flashed in the clouds, and it was especially eye-catching. With a thought, Tang Zheng's consciousness entered the dragon cave. He could already completely control the dragon cave. The size and strength of the lightning were all under his control. From now on, he could use the lightning in the heaven realm to refine others. Of course, that person would first have to enter the heaven realm and not be turned into energy. He could not calm down for a long time. He was surprised by the power of the sky-swallowing technique. Of course, he was also surprised by the new changes in the sky-swallowing technique. After the heaven realm completely absorbed the dragon cave, a wave of energy surged out from the dragon cave and filled the sky. Then it was quickly absorbed by the heaven realm. He seemed to have comprehended something. With a flash of inspiration, he thought to himself, the sky-swallowing technique is finally about to break through. The sky-swallowing technique was only one step away from the final realm. Boom, 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 boom. Rumble, rumble, rumble. A series of loud noises rang out in the heaven realm. At the same time, a similar sound rang out in his body. It seemed that the heaven realm had some kind of connection with his body. The heaven realm also indirectly affected his body. All of the Dragon Clan S were attracted by the loud sound. Pairs of dragon eyes were wide open as they stared straight at Tang Zheng, not knowing what would happen to him. Boom, 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 puff, boom, boom. Heaven Dragon Dragon. Boom. Boom boom. 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 To boom. Two 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 two. Boom. Two to boom. Two. To boom. Boom. Naturally, many gazes fell on the Dragon King. They would have to listen to the Dragon King's orders. The Dragon King seemed to have been petrified. He stared blankly at Tang Zheng as the series of loud booms echoed in his ears. He couldn't make up his mind either. He had experienced the power of the Dragon Cave. Seeing that the Dragon Clan had disappeared in Tang Zheng's hands, he couldn't figure out what was going on with Tang Zheng. At this critical moment, he didn't dare to act rashly. The Dragon King didn't dare to move, and neither did the other Dragon Clan. All the Dragon Clans seemed to have been petrified as they stared at Tang Zheng without blinking. Rumble. The sound became louder and louder. It was like a war drum, extremely intense. The Dragon King's eyelids twitched along with the rhythm. Suddenly, he realized that the loud sound had reached its peak. He had an idea and shouted, "Stop him!" The 8 great dragon ambassadors were ready. When they heard the order, the 8 great dragon ambassadors rushed out together. All kinds of magic treasures flew out and attacked Tang Zheng at the same time. When the golden dragon saw this, he was so scared that his soul trembled. However, he didn't retreat. Instead, he shook his body and transformed into a giant dragon. He roared into the sky and faced the 8 great dragon ambassadors. But how could he be a match for the dragon ambassadors? With just one move, the golden light around his body dimmed. His body shook violently and quickly fell to the ground. The 8 great dragon ambassadors' attacks weren't affected much because of this small interlude. As expected, 8 magic treasures with different lights attacked the only target, Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng seemed to be dead for sure. After all, this was the combined attack of the 8 dragon envoys, and the other Dragon Clan S had never seen this scene before. In their subconscious, other than the Dragon King, there was definitely no other Dragon Clan S that could take this attack. Suddenly, Tang Zheng opened his eyes. His eyes were as black as ink. There was no white in them. They were a bottomless black. Even his pupils were no exception. They were completely black. A vortex appeared in each of his pupils. It kept spinning, strange and mysterious. The 8 great dragon ambassadors were shocked. They felt that something was wrong from this scene. But the arrow was already on the bow. They had to release it. They were getting closer and closer to Tang Zheng. 10 meters, 5 meters, 1 meter, 1 millimeter. The 8 great dragon ambassadors were almost on Tang Zheng's body. It seemed that in the next second, he wouldn't be able to escape the attack of the magic treasures. However, this scene froze. The 8 great dragon ambassadors couldn't move forward anymore. An invisible force came from behind. It was like a claw that grabbed them tightly. "Look at the sky!" One of the dragons cried out in shock. A huge black hole appeared in the sky. It was aimed at the 8 great dragon ambassadors. 2 vortexes were spinning in the sky. They were like Tang Zheng's eyes. The terrifying force was emitted from these 2 vortexes. It sucked the 8 great dragon ambassadors in. No matter how hard they struggled, it was useless. "What's going on?" The Dragon King cried in his heart. He couldn't figure it out no matter how hard he scratched his head. Tang Zheng's lips curled into a smile. It was the smile of a victor. His lips moved slightly as he muttered to himself, "The heaven-devouring realm is indeed mysterious. It can even devour the heavens. It's not enough to deal with you 8 great dragon ambassadors." The heaven-devouring realm. Tang Zheng had gone through a lot of hardships and finally reached this realm. The heaven-devouring technique's great perfection realm. Ever since the heaven-devouring technique was created, other than the founder, Tang Zheng was the only one who had reached this realm and achieved this achievement. At this point, the heaven-devouring technique was completed in one go. It was true to its name. It could really devour the heavens. To read the latest novel, please visit the website. Chapter 1605. The 8 dragon envoys danced and struggled with all their might, trying to break free from the attraction of the sky-swallowing skill. It was a comical scene. The other dragons were dumbfounded. After all, the 8 dragon envoys were slightly inferior to the Dragon King. Even the Dragon King would not dare to let his guard down when the 8 dragon envoys joined forces. The Dragon King was shocked. His face was pale as he shouted, "Stop!" If anything happened to the 8 dragon envoys, it would be a painful blow to him as the Dragon King. The Dragon King could not retreat. He had to save the dragon envoys. Whoosh! His figure flashed, and a golden light flew out from his hand. Fast! Seeing this, there was only one thought in his mind. The golden light was too fast. It was probably as fast as the shooting sun arrow. Without a single thought, the golden light arrived in front of Tang Zheng and attacked Tang Zheng, forcing him to stop and helping the dragon envoy out of this predicament. "Dragon Blade!" The Dragon Clan exclaimed. They recognized the golden light. It was the Dragon King's treasure, called the Dragon Blade. It was a sacred weapon with terrifying power. Among the Dragon Clan, no one dared to fight against the Dragon Blade, let alone successfully. Pairs of eyes stared at the Dragon Blade. They guessed that Tang Zheng would not be able to withstand such a terrifying attack. Tang Zheng's pupils constricted. He also fixed his gaze on the Dragon Blade. He could already feel the surging power. It was sharp and hot, as if it was going to tear him apart. "Sky-swallowing skill!" Tang Zheng roared. The 2 black vortexes in the sky spun wildly. The mighty power directly locked onto the Dragon Blade from afar. The Dragon Blade stopped. It stopped right in front of Tang Zheng's face. Advertisement. The Dragon Blade's attack was aimed at the vital point. It was powerful, but Tang Zheng did not even blink. Looking at the Dragon Blade that was close to him, he held his breath. He could clearly feel the power of the Dragon Blade, but it was firmly controlled by the sky-swallowing skill. He could not move at all. Huh? The other dragons were shocked. They looked at this scene in disbelief. Why did the Dragon Blade stop? Especially at such a terrifying speed. It was as if it had stopped abruptly. How did he do it? Everyone subconsciously turned to look at the Dragon King, wondering if the Dragon King had stopped on purpose. However, when everyone looked at the Dragon King, they found that his face was pale. He had already raised both of his hands, and his fingers were spread open as he controlled the Dragon Blade from afar. All of this wasn't because the Dragon King had deliberately stopped, but because Tang Zheng had blocked the attack of the Dragon Blade. Hiss! Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. Even the excitement of the 8 great dragon envoys disappeared. The 8 great dragon envoys screamed. They never thought that the Dragon King's attack wouldn't affect Tang Zheng too much, and he still had the energy to deal with them. Stop! The Dragon King roared, and with a shake of his body, he actually turned into a dragon. That huge body made Tang Zheng's heartstrings tremble. The Dragon King's body was much bigger than the other dragons, almost occupying half of the sky. The other dragons all retreated, trembling in fear, and prostrated themselves before the Dragon King. The Dragon King's might. No dragon could resist it, and even the golden dragon couldn't help but bend down, his face pale. Only Tang Zheng's body stood straight. A faint mysterious aura was emitted from his body. This aura that didn't seem strong went up against the Dragon King's might. The air vibrated, but he didn't seem to be at a disadvantage. Instead, it was the Dragon King's expression that changed, and he roared uneasily. What is this? A tremor that came from the depths of his soul arose spontaneously. Tang Zheng was startled, but immediately realized that this was the Dragon God's might. Although he had only integrated a part of the Dragon God's might, it was still more powerful than the Dragon King's might, and it was more shocking. The Dragon God's might was triggered by provocation, and it usually hid in Tang Zheng's body. Since the Dragon King dared to use the Dragon God's might to suppress him, it was naturally triggered. All the prostrating dragons raised their heads in confusion and looked at Tang Zheng. Their eyes were filled with disbelief. They didn't understand how he could emit such a terrifying Dragon God's might. They didn't dare to have any thoughts of being rash, and could only lower their heads even more. The 8 great dragon envoys were trembling in fear. In the face of such a Dragon God's might, they couldn't help but regret their previous disrespect and rashness. The Dragon King's huge body floated in mid-air, and his head was looking at Tang Zheng. The Dragon God's might had unknowingly been suppressed, and his gaze was changing again and again. The trembling and fear that went deep into his dragon soul wasn't something he could control or resist. Chapter 1606. Tang Zheng stood proudly, exuding the dragon aura of the Dragon God. All the dragons prostrated themselves, and even the Dragon King bent his proud bones. The dragon blade's attack naturally disappeared without a trace. Tang Zheng's fingers clamped down, and 2 fingers firmly clamped down on the dragon blade. The dragon blade was very quiet, and did not move at all. Seeing this, the Dragon King's expression changed. He opened his huge dragon mouth, but did not dare to resist. Because the trembling of the dragon's soul had not disappeared, and he could not resist at all. Tang Zheng saw through the Dragon King's mood, but was also shocked by the effect of the Dragon God's dragon aura. He said, Dragon King, I know you are not convinced, but you can attack. Attack. The Dragon King did not even dare to have this thought, because the dragon soul had already strongly suppressed this point. The other dragons saw the Dragon King's reaction and all sucked in a breath of cold air. Not only them, but even the Dragon King did not dare to resist. Then wouldn't this Tang Zheng be the new master of the dragon domain? When they thought of this, they were deeply shocked and immediately lowered their heads even more. In mid-air, the 8 dragon envoys had already flown to the edge of the black hole. Seeing that they were about to be sucked in, the dragon envoys could not resist at all, as if they had already accepted their fate. Suddenly, the whirlpool in the black hole stopped spinning, and the suction force disappeared. The 8 dragon envoys relaxed, but still did not dare to resist. They could only look at the black hole in front of them in shock, and their hearts almost stopped. Tang Zheng controlled the situation and firmly held the initiative. He pondered for a moment, then walked towards the Dragon King. The Dragon King could not understand Tang Zheng's thoughts, and could not retreat even if he wanted to. He could only watch as Tang Zheng approached him. The other dragons looked up and watched this scene with mixed feelings. They did not know what Tang Zheng was going to do. Kill the Dragon King and replace him? Thinking of this, all the dragons trembled and panicked. They were completely shrouded in fear. Finally, Tang Zheng walked in front of the Dragon King. Although the Dragon King was huge, under Tang Zheng's dragon aura, he seemed very small. This feeling arose in every dragon's heart. Beads of sweat appeared on the Dragon King's forehead and slid down his cheeks. Tang Zheng stretched out his hand and placed it on the dragon horn. The Dragon King's eyes narrowed as pain and despair appeared on its face. Once he damaged the dragon horn, the Dragon King would really fall. His cultivation would plummet, and the honor and glory of the past would be gone. He would be left with nothing. Tang Zheng did not pay attention to the Dragon King's thoughts. He just quietly felt the surging power coming from the dragon horn. In terms of the dragon horn, he definitely could not compare to the Dragon King. However, his advantage lay in the fact that he had fused with the dragon god fragment. This was something that no cultivator or treasure could compare to, and it could completely suppress all dragons. Dragon King, Tang Zheng called out softly. The Dragon King hesitated for a moment. Although he was extremely reluctant, he had no choice but to reply respectfully. Here. Do you still want to deal with me? Tang Zheng asked calmly. I don't dare. The Dragon King hurriedly explained. Even if he was given 100 more dragon gallbladders, he would not dare to do this. He was really courting death. If it was not because he was used to being high and mighty, he would not have lifted a rock and smashed his own foot. Tang Zheng was very satisfied with his answer, but he did not plan to let him go just like that. He continued to ask, Do you still want to get those things from me? No. The Dragon King swallowed his saliva and said something that was not true. Of course he wanted to, but he really did not dare to think about it. It was completely wishful thinking. Then will you still stop me? Tang Zheng asked. No. The Dragon King continued to reply respectfully. Great. Tang Zheng nodded and praised. He suddenly turned around and faced all the dragons. He said majestically, The dragon race is a proud race. Raise your heads. The dragons were shocked. They gradually raised their heads and faced Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng had the Dragon King behind him. He seemed small, but his aura was like a rainbow. Facing all the dragons, his aura became stronger and stronger. He said indifferently, Most of you don't know me. I'm a new member of the dragon race. Perhaps many of you don't understand this, but I still have to say. I was originally a human, but ever since I cultivated the dragon god technique, I became a dragon step by step. What? As soon as these words were said, all the dragons were so shocked that they were speechless. Tang Zheng did not want to say this at first, but after thinking carefully, he decided to be honest. This kind of thing could not be hidden in the future. In order to win the respect and trust of all the dragons, he decided to be completely honest. The Dragon King was also shocked. The Golden Dragon had mentioned this before, but the Dragon King did not care. He did not believe that a human could become a dragon. There were all kinds of strange things in the boundless world. There were carps in the Dragon Gate and pythons that turned into dragons, but there was definitely no human who turned into a dragon. However, the truth was right in front of them, and they had to believe it. Of course, none of the dragons doubted him. After all, there was no need for Tang Zheng to lie to them. The whole place was dead silent. Only pairs of eyes stared at him with complicated looks, but they could not say a word for a long time. The Golden Dragon heaved a sigh of relief. If he had told this truth in other situations, it would not have had such an effect. However, he had intimidated all the dragons just now, so his words had such an effect. How? Is that possible? The Dragon King pondered for a long time before he finally spat out this sentence. Tang Zheng curled the corner of his mouth into a smile. If a dragon can transform into a human, who can't transform into a dragon? As soon as he asked this question, his heart moved, and a thought spontaneously rose from the bottom of his heart. Why would a dragon transform into a human? After all, they were high and mighty. Would it not be more noble to maintain their dragon forms? Could there be some mystery or inside story? He didn't completely figure out the mystery behind it, but his question was like a stone thrown into the hearts of all dragons, causing ripples in their hearts. Yes, if a dragon can transform into a human, who can't transform into a dragon? This was the thought of an ordinary dragon. However, the Dragon King and the 8 dragon ambassadors had the same thought as Tang Zheng. Why do dragons like to transform into humans? Is there a need for that? When did this start? Why have I been doing this unknowingly? They had never thought about this before. They could not help but look at each other, and they could see the shock and horror in each other's eyes. They seemed to have been imperceptibly influenced from the moment they were born. Then they had this fixed mindset. Even the Dragon King was an exception. They seemed to recall, but they realized that there was no trace of it. They did not know who had instilled this thought in them, but it seemed that their ancestors were all like this. Are humans nobler? Is that why dragons are willing to transform into humans? The other races seemed to have this tendency as well. Once their strength reached a certain level, they were willing to transform into humans and try their best to get closer to humans. Are humans the king of all races? Are the other races flocking to transform into humans? To read a novel, please visit Chapter 1607. The speculation that humans were the kings of all races shocked the Dragon King and the Dragon Envoy. Their high and mighty pride seemed to have completely collapsed with a bang. Tang Zheng looked at their reaction and guessed their thoughts. The smile on his face became wider. He had finally destroyed the Dragon King's arrogance. On the other hand, the other dragons did not think of this point. That would be able to preserve the momentum of the other dragons. Therefore, he said in a dignified manner, all these years, the Dragon Clan has been hunted down by the Dragon Slayers and had no choice but to hide in the Dragon Realm. This is the shame of the Dragon Clan. This situation is about to change. Ah, change? The dragons were in an uproar. They looked at each other in dismay, unable to hide the shock between them. They had long been tired of this kind of hiding, but they had no choice. In order to survive, they had to do this. Even the Dragon King was helpless. They had almost lost all hope. At this moment, hearing Tang Zheng's words, that almost extinguished hope was ignited little by little. It was like a spark that started a prairie fire in the bottom of their hearts. I know you will be suspicious. You will think that my words have no proof and are not trustworthy. Tang Zheng changed the topic and stretched out his palm. With a flash of golden light, a 9-clawed little golden dragon appeared in his palm. It swam around his palm, looking very lifelike. What is this? The dragons widened their eyes. Their reaction was exactly the same as the Dragon King's. Tang Zheng was not in a hurry to answer. He said slowly, countless years ago, the ancestors of the Dragon Clan were also harmed by the Dragon Slayers. However, they never gave up hope. They had been resisting and looking for ways to fight against the Dragon Slayers. In the end, they finally thought of a way. The dragon's interest was piqued. They looked at him eagerly. The Dragon Slayers can sense the Dragon Clan, right? Tang Zheng asked. Yes. The dragons nodded. They hated this point. Once the Dragon Clan left the Dragon Realm, no matter how they hid, they would be easily sensed by the Dragon Slayers and be killed. Only the Dragon Realm had natural protection and isolation measures to barely avoid being sensed by the Dragon Slayers. Therefore, the Dragon Clan could only hide here to temporarily save their lives. The ancestors of the dragon race spent countless efforts to give others a taste of their own medicine. They found a way to sense the Dragon Slayers. From now on, we will no longer be blind. Even if the Dragon Slayers chase after us, we will be able to sense them and take the initiative to attack. Tang Zheng said passionately. Actually, when the Dragon Clan senior taught him the sensing technique, he didn't say that. He just wanted him to sense the Dragon Slayers so that he could avoid being hunted down. However, when Tang Zheng saw the plight of the Dragon Clan, the high and mighty Dragon Clan actually hid themselves like rats, not daring to show themselves. This was really an insult to the Dragon Clan. Therefore, he suddenly had an idea and decided to do the opposite. He decided to take the initiative to attack. The best defense was to attack. However, the dragon race had been hunted down by the Dragon Slayers for too many years. Their will to resist was getting weaker and weaker, and they were almost annihilated. They didn't even think of taking the initiative to attack. When they heard him say that, they all revealed an incredulous expression and resentfully shook their heads. They thought that this was a fantasy story and that it was too risky. Tang Zheng glanced at the Dragon King from the corner of his eyes. It was incomparably sharp and even had a reproachful expression. The dignified Dragon Clan had actually become a group of cowards under the leadership of the Dragon King. It was simply a disgrace. The Dragon King's heart trembled. He understood Tang Zheng's gaze. Although he was indignant, he didn't dare to refute and forcibly swallowed his anger. Do you plan to hide in the Dragon Realm for the rest of your life and be hunted down by the Dragon Slayers? The Dragon Clan should soar in the 9 heavens. Where are your ambitions? Have you really been scared out of your wits by the Dragon Slayers? Tang Zheng asked in disappointment. The drooping dragon heads gradually lifted up. Their eyes were burning with indignation. Tang Zheng's words deeply touched the softest part of their hearts. Their pride still existed, but it was hidden. Now it finally burst out. We are not scared out of our wits. The Dragon Clan straightened their bodies and said with a firm expression. The Dragon King snorted disdainfully. Provocation was just a small trick, but he didn't expect that the Dragon Clan would actually be successfully provoked. These guys. Tang Zheng revealed a satisfied expression. If a clan didn't even have the last bit of pride, then there was really no hope. Very good. Since you are not scared out of your wits, then you must be brave enough to attack. Tang Zheng said. But our cultivation is not as good as the Dragon Slayers. This is the solution. Tang Zheng pointed at the little golden dragon in his hand and said, the divine ability left behind by the Dragon God, the advanced version of the Dragon God technique will solve your worries. Dragon God? Advanced version of the Dragon God technique? The Dragon Clan was confused. It was obviously the first time they had heard of it. A long time ago, the leader of the Dragon Clan was the Dragon God. The Dragon God protected the Dragon Clan and did not allow outsiders to invade, maintaining the pride and nobility of the Dragon Clan. Ever since the last Dragon God fell, there has never been another Dragon God in the Dragon Clan. Many of the Dragon God's divine abilities have also been lost. This is the most fundamental reason why our Dragon Clan has been forced to retreat step by step and be restrained everywhere. Tang Zheng passionately said. The Dragon Clan was skeptical and looked at the Dragon King. Even the 8 great dragon envoys looked at the Dragon King. With their status, they actually didn't know about this. Facing the many pairs of questioning eyes, the Dragon King fell silent. He couldn't deny it because what Tang Zheng said was the truth. But he was worried in his heart. He was afraid that Tang Zheng would tell the Dragon Clan about the origin of the Dragon Slayers. The Dragon Slayers were actually born from the Dragon Clan. There was actually a traitor in the Dragon Clan. This news was undoubtedly a heavy bomb that would shake the Dragon Clan's faith. But he had no way to stop Tang Zheng. He moved his lips, but thousands of words were stuck in his throat. Once you cultivate the advanced version of the Dragon God technique, you will be like me and summon the little golden dragon from the Dragon Seal. This is not an illusion, but a real body. I believe everyone is very clear about what this means. Of course, they were clear about it. The Dragon Clan revealed an excited expression and looked at the little golden dragon with burning eyes. But did they have the qualifications to cultivate it? They looked at the Dragon King one after another. After all, the Dragon Clan was a world where the strong were respected. Many techniques were unique to the Dragon King and were not something that the general public could cultivate. Tang Zheng didn't pay attention to the Dragon King's reaction. He also saw the Dragon Clan's worries and said directly, I will now teach everyone the advanced version of the Dragon God technique and the method to sense the Dragon Slayers. As long as you are a member of the Dragon Clan, you will have the opportunity to cultivate it. The Dragon Clan has already reached the point of life and death. If we don't unite, then the Dragon Clan will be destroyed in the future and completely disappear from this world. I believe that everyone is not willing to see this scene. The Dragon Clan was excited and looked at Tang Zheng with fervent eyes. The Dragon King sighed inwardly. At this point, he had no way to stop it. Otherwise, his position as the Dragon King would be lost. Of course, he also had no way to stop all of this. In the end, Tang Zheng did everything he wanted. Tang Zheng stretched out his hand and pointed at the void. With a tap, a golden light shot out and exploded. Like the most brilliant fireworks, it turned into specks of golden light that fell from the sky and sprinkled on all the Dragon Clan. To read the latest novel, please visit the website. You're tuning in to the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.